All right. All right. All right. Where we at? Where we at? I was trying to hit under 10 minutes late, but yes, I've been. Yes, I've been. And in fact, let me do this here and see if that finally works out. Here, one sec. Ba-da-ba. Let people come through. Let people come through. I should be live. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Hope y'all doing well. Yes, yes, yes. It always. It's always going to be an issue, I wonder. Man, Twitch, I just can't get a hold of it. Can't get a hang of it. It ain't for me. Let's edit this. And let's go with real quick. Try to be more proactive with the channel. So that requires me to mess around a little bit with Twitch for better or for worse. Let's see here. Pisco and Destiny. I'm sorry I'm doing this to y'all. Fight over Hasan. Alex. Overruled is a creep. Who would have known? Who would have guessed it? It's not like he blocked me for calling him out about it a while ago. Isn't that interesting how that works? How white people are. Isn't that interesting? And we're hanging out. Category, nope. That's what we're doing. Awesome. It's actually the first time I've edited anything on Twitch. Okay. There we go. That should be updated. Hopefully. There we go. Awesome. Let's get to it then. Let's get to it. Appreciate the patience, y'all. Appreciate the patience. Let's move this over here. And thank y'all so much for tuning in. Yes, we're gonna struggle a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. We're gonna watch a bunch of liberals talk about who is and who isn't a tanky. Doesn't that sound like so much fun? Ah, man. Yeah, Luigi. I take down the live streams. So they're just unlisted. They're still there. They're just unlisted. FD put me on that about like some algorithm stuff. So I was like, all right, for sure. Like I'm not gonna delete them. At least not yet. I don't think I have a reason to. But for example, that Superman video, I knew, I was skeptical about it only because if what blew up was me talking about the brown community in relation to the black community, of course, but a brown man speaking about brown issues, that video did amazing. And I was grateful for that. And thank you all for subscribing and hanging out. Those of you that found this channel through that video. But I knew that the Superman one was going to be a little bit outside of that realm of brownness, per se. So I knew it wasn't going to do as well, but I still wanted to at least hit 10K. That'd be dope. That'd be cool. Maybe it's an ego thing. Um, I don't know. I mean, but after I was somebody commented, and I don't know how I missed this. I felt like I listened. Maybe I've seen her somewhere else, but Samantha Yusuf was on with Dr. Ball, or maybe I don't know. Like I felt like I've heard her speak before. It kind of threw me off, but I'm definitely gonna reach out to her because I want to hear criticisms of that video that I made, like what I missed and stuff like that. And I'm not sure if I could talk about it. I don't see why not. But on Monday, uh, is that the 4th? I'm gonna be on with Dr. Ball, and I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. It'll be interesting. Give me 1 second, y'all. Here we go. So I'm looking forward to that. That's gonna be fun. I need to do some homework because heavy hitters over there only, and I gotta be, gotta be prepared. But I was watching the conversation between Dr. Ball and Samantha Yusuf, and I was like, "All right, cool," because I think she's half Palestinian, and um, I hadn't heard of her before. So seeing that, I was like, oh, "Okay, like I'm great. I'm always grateful if I'm able to point something out that you know is a that Palestinians are also feeling, or whatever subject I'm speaking on. If somebody from that community or that area of study, uh, what have you, if they're like, I don't know, like it makes me feel like, all right, like I'm not crazy. It makes me feel like I'm not crazy. That's the way I'm gonna put it. And so, yeah, listening to that interview, I was like, oh, that's dope. I still haven't heard Dr. Ball shout me out, so I'm taking that really personal. Um, I don't know if it's a personal thing. Definitely gonna. I'm not gonna bring it up directly on Monday, but I'm gonna be passive aggressive for sure. I might just give him the silent treatment, which was gonna make for a great stream. Imagine. I would never try to even if I was serious, out petty uh you know the professor of pettiness himself. And if y'all been seeing uh man, like we joke around about Dr. Bob being petty, but the fact that he's mature enough to look at Tim Black and be like, yeah, I'm not doing this. It's like, I'm so immature because I'm like, I wanted to see that back and forth. So yes, Jamie, I'm definitely gonna be making a separate channel for the VODs. I've just been I've been neglecting a lot of things, including my like quote unquote health. I don't know how much it comes up on camera, but like lack of sleep, started breaking out bad, bad, bad. Adult acne for the win. Um, it's funny when I was in high school, I've always had really bad acne, and actually one of the reasons I was motivated to stop smoking the devil's lettuce was because of how it would break out. Point being, when I was younger, I was like, all right, cool. When I become an adult, I don't have to deal with acne. You know what I mean? And then no, apparently adult acne is a thing. So that's been awesome to I always struggle with it, but not this bad. So it was interesting. Uh Try taking care of yourself and incorporate small steps. Yeah, no, I mean, I do, but my biggest issue is lack of sleep, especially because I work mornings. Like I wake up for work at 4:30 a.m. Just to get ready to beat traffic. So, oh, so this what we're gonna go over before we're gonna go over this chaos here. Bunch of liberals talking about rad libs that claim to be socialists, except when they're claiming to be communists, unless they're denying being Marxist Leninists because they're actually progressives, but they support populism. I think the only people that got saved in this conversation, in this debate, fucking pro wrestling debate, are I was gonna say tankies, but no, that's like the favorite word to use. Anarchists. Anarchists are the only ones that got saved. But yeah, well, I don't wake up at 4:30 because I want to. I wake up at 4:30 because I got debt to pay. uh, Debt before the bills, apparently. Uh, but yeah, man. See, I need to get together. I need to definitely get together. Um, but I think this helps. This helps a lot. Yeah, look at this roster is atrocious, atrocious. But just other than Pisco, look Pisco. Look at the whiteness, and Pisco has that Eurocentric mind. So yeah, Camarada's like struggling here. But no, I wasn't mentioning before I got distracted. But anywho, really excited. All jokes aside, um, to talk to Dr. Ball. I'm definitely gonna reach out to Samantha Yusuf for some feedback on that video. Because I think it's important to always be, self-critical. I was so happy and so excited. Somebody in the comments of I believe the Superman video, if I'm not mistaken, let me know about hey, check out the Samantha Yusuf interview. And I was, love the drama as we're gonna go through here. I was looking at the Tim Black smearing of Dr. Ball, and oh yeah, Dr. Ball taking the high road. I'm like, God damn it. Yes, I understand. I understand Dr. Ball. I get it 100%, but it was gonna make the car ride home, the hour 25 minutes that it takes me to get home, a hell lot more enjoyable than listening to this madness. But yes, all respect and credit and appreciation, Dr. Ball. Again, I'm gonna be on there on Monday, and actually, I gotta make sure I get my shift covered for that. Uh, I'll just get it partially covered. Not gonna lie. Actually, let me do this. I should probably do that. My workplace is a little weird, so when I got the news that Dr. Ball wanted to lock down that Monday, I was like, oh, for sure, I got it. Don't worry. You know, and then I realized that I kind of couldn't because of some paperwork stuff, and I was like, God damn it. So I was taking care of that, and I was at work like 45 minutes longer than I had to be, not getting paid to fix it, and which is my fault. And so yeah, I got home real late that day. All right, enough of that. Let's get to it. Before the drama and stuff like that, I did think that it's important for us to talk about this. Israel detains, chokes, and beats up Amazon Union leader Chris Smalls. Before I ever talked to FD and had an extra kick in the rear to put out an edited video, I was actually going to work on a video comparing and contrasting Chris Smalls to what's homeboy's name from auto workers, the auto workers. Oh, the union leader for the auto workers. He was at the DNC, union president, I guess. United, is it auto workers? Sean Fain. Sean Fain, this guy. You know, what a spineless bastard. Their union put on a condition that they would only endorse Biden. One of the conditions being that a guarantee of a ceasefire. Did it happen? Of course not. Did they endorse? Yeah, of course they endorse. Of course they endorse. If it's 10, 2 hours, we'll be fine there. Yeah, it's at 10:30. If I'm not mistaken here. So I was gonna make that video compare and contrast. I still might. I mean, it would still be relevant. Comparing contrasting Sean Fain to Chris Smalls, and I mean, it says everything here. It says everything here. On Saturday night, the Israeli Defense Forces surrounded, beat, and choked American labor leader Chris Smalls as they unlawfully boarded the Andala, the most recent aid ship trying to reach Gaza as part of the Freedom Flotilla coalition. Smalls was the only black person on the flotilla and was punished much more severely than any of the other 20 members detained. And we've briefly talked about this before. Well, I'm sure the entire crew wasn't white. That a lot of these leftist spaces, a lot of organizing spaces, if you don't make the effort, are going to be dominated by white people. And this is kind of like one of the main difficulties when organizing as a non-white person as part of the global majority is you have to be around white people that recognize, yeah, that they're white. It's crazy because I'm blocked by this Texas organizer, and I kind of inherited a little bit of that beef that decolonized Buffalo Rick had with her, Big Nasty. Now, Big Nasty is a white woman whose mother is like a quarter or half Vietnamese, but Big Nasty is a white woman for all intents purposes. Colored eyes, pretty sure colored eyes included. Now the thing is, me and Big Nasty would probably be cool because she's into MMA. But she's unable to accept the fact that she's a white person, that she is a white woman. And the only thing more dangerous than a white woman is a white woman that refuses to acknowledge that she is a white woman. If that's uncomfortable to be around. So I was like, nah, if you can't own that, I can't trust you. I can't be around you, even like online or whatever. Virtually. There you go. So I was just trying to make like she actually unblocked me for a little bit when she saw that I was calling out Rick for smearing me and claiming that I only oppose racism online. Mind you, he switched up his story 3 times and refused to drop the screenshots of our conversation. And so Big Nasty unblocks me and starts to try like interact with me online. And I was like, yeah, you're still white though. Like, and it was relevant to the conversation. And she's like, now I remember why I blocked you. You're so hostile. I'm like, no, you're a threat to brown and black people around you because you won't even acknowledge that you're white. And again, the only thing more dangerous than a white woman is a white woman that refuses to acknowledge her whiteness. Come on now. Let me put this on the board here. So, just you got to be careful. I'm sure Chris Moss wasn't the only non-white person there, but obviously he was the only black person there, which I don't know how to say this without coming off like I'm not trying to scold him or educate him in organizing in any remote way. But what I will say is, when I was younger, I would I wouldn't care about going to do certain activities on my own. I would just be like, yeah, I'll go by myself. It's fine. I can take care of myself, and obviously there's gonna be other people there, so I'll be fine. And it's just not smart to go anywhere on your own, and it's not. I don't think it's intelligent to be the only X person, X meaning marginalized group in that environment. Uh, I just think that's me. Like for your own safety, even amongst the people that you're around, unless you know them intimately. Uh, if you are the darkest person, if you are the only black person, you know, in the group when you're getting busy, when you're doing direct action, this is gonna happen. You're gonna be targeted. So, um, if you have comrades, actual comrades, none of this online parasocial shit that we're seeing nonstop. Uh, all these Radlib streamers calling all their Patreon and fucking subscribers comrades when they've never organized together is for me, taking advantage of the parasocial um, relationship there. So, actually, let me move this here. I just realized something. If you can, and if you have people, solid people around you, or people willing to take that risk, that sacrifice, because um, I don't care how anybody puts it. What Chris Moss, is doing, or what he was signing up to when he headed out with the crew, was risking his life. Any which way you put it, Chris Moss was risking his life to show solidarity with the Palestinian people, to try his best to provide aid. I don't think I don't think that's an exaggeration, and excuse me, an exaggeration in any way. He was risking his life to go. So true solidarity with Palestinian people. Chris Moss was not going to self-immolate. Chris Moss was not going to waste any military training. Chris Moss, was not aligned with the empire in that manner. Instead, Chris Moss is a union organizer that was willing to put his life on the line to go help Palestinians. Quote, when he reached the Israeli prison, U.S. human rights defender Chris Moss was physically assaulted by 7 uniformed individuals. The Freedom Fatah Coalition announced Tuesday morning they choked him and kicked him in the legs, leaving visible signs of violence on his neck and back. When his lawyer met with him, Chris was surrounded by 6 members of Israel's Special Police Unit. This level of force was not used against other abducted activists. We condemn this violence against Chris and demand accountability for the assault and discriminatory treatment he faced. There's this whole idea that, well, you can call Zionists, equivalent to Nazis or modern day Nazis, or that their ideologies are so distinct because, the core tenet of Nazism is anti-Semitism, this and that. And I'm like, whiteness is ever expanding in order to preserve whiteness and white supremacy and have a majority. So just like the Italians, just how the Irish eventually became white, you have to understand that Zionism is that attempt, literally that attempt to colonize, to conquer into whiteness, right? And so how do you prove that you are truly, white people? Like, you're part of the white community is you colonize, is you oppress, you degrade, you dehumanize, you violate, you beat down, you massacre, you exterminate brown and black people, indigenous people, right? Wherever you may be. So this idea that Zionism is not a white supremacist ideology because Jews aren't considered white is bullshit. Don't let them sell you that. Do not allow them to spread this fucking lie that Zionism is not a white supremacist ideology. They're fucking Europeans. The people that came up with it are Europeans. They're white. If we're still spreading this bullshit lie that Europeans of the Jewish faith, Ashkenazi Jews, are not white, you are spreading Nazi propaganda. You are saying Hitler was correct, which is, if you're part of the left, what the fuck are you doing? You're gonna sound like Nick Cruz from Revolutionary Blackout Network. Come on now. So again, it should be to no surprise that these white supremacist Zionists went out of their way to physically assault, to beat, to target Chris Moss, the only black man in this flotilla. That just on a side note, the double fucking L is tripping me out because I want to pronounce it like a Y, like I would in Spanish. Flotilla, yeah, which sounds a lot like to float. I don't know. A side note, the ADHD side note there. My apologies. Appreciate y'all being here. We'll get into the drama soon enough, but this is important to talk about. Pretty hard to believe that the particularly heinous, there you go, and brutal treatment Christian Moss was subjected to by Israeli authorities was not a function of racism, given it was not inflicted on other Hadalah detainees. University of New York, Brunswick professor Nathan Kalman Lamb wrote on Blue Sky. And the U.S. media does not give a fuck. And I seen somebody post, my apologies, using this moment to highlight that new Africans, quote unquote, Black Americans, are on their own, right? The U.S. settler colonial empire, it has never been there for them. But especially when it comes to international affairs, if you're not blue-eyed, if you don't got those good genes, apparently, y'all seen that. If you ain't part of the fucking superior race, the Aryan race, if you're not a fucking wasp and you're trapped in some fucking dungeon in another country, good fucking luck. Now, if you were a white woman, if you had good genes, shit. The rescue plan is it's underway. But again, just adding emphasis to how New Africans are an internal colony in the United States. When you're even treated unfairly internationally, where your own supposed country, the United States, is unwilling to acknowledge or treat you internationally like they would a white citizen. Smalls entered the public eye in 2022 after successfully founding a labor union at the Staten Island Amazon factory, garnering national praise and even a White House invitation from President Biden. Now he remains beaten and battered in IDF custody. The IDF targeting the one black man on the aid ship is sadly unsurprising, as is the lack of uproar from U.S. politicians and large media outlets. Yet another U.S. citizen assaulted and detained by the IDF, yet not a peep from either side of the aisle, because Smalls is a black American leftist who was standing up to Israel's campaign of mass starvation and trying to deliver baby food and flour to suffering Palestinians in Gaza. Chris Smalls, and I heard criticism. I heard criticism about how he was managing unionization, this and that. I'm sorry, from my fucking understanding, it was his first time organizing a union. And as somebody who's fortunate enough to have the union, to be a shop steward, to be in a committee, it's not easy. No, there's really nobody there to demonstrate, to teach you how to do things the proper way. Now imagine having to be a union president and set the whole thing up. Of course mistakes were going to be made. That's part of the fucking process, the learning process. A WASP is a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. So whenever you see all these reactionaries or these crypto fascists like the American Communist Party, fucking Haas and Hinkle and Revolutionary Blackout with Nick Cruz, Jake Shields, whenever you see them talking about the Jews and truly being anti-Semitic, they're doing it to protect the WASP, the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, who is the true fucking, we're using these anti-Semitic stereotypes, the true puppeteer. It's the WASP. So don't let them confuse you. Zionism is a real fucking thing. Jewish supremacy is a real fucking thing. But they're trying to earn their way through literal blood of Palestinians into whiteness. And it's the WASP that controls who is white. It's the WASP that we're out there calling Italians racial slurs. At the time. Now you say that nobody blinks an eye. Bats an eye, excuse me. I'm not good at using those white people sayings. So it's the WASP. Don't let them distract you with that anti-Semitism, because they're doing it to shield themselves from responsibility, pun intended. So Chris Moss, again, whatever went down, whatever didn't happen, because I've heard the criticism. That's, for me, I'm like, that's part of the project, is making those mistakes, is stepping up and doing things that haven't been done before. Not that unionizing hasn't been done before, but in terms specifically for Amazon, right? What are the unique characteristics and the fucking material realities of organizing, against Amazon? So let this just be another nail in the coffin of, the smearing of Chris Moss. If it wasn't clear enough, the fact that AOC Alejandra Ocasio-Cortez and her Theo Bernie Sanders, the lifelong Zionists, distanced themselves from Smalls because he was being too much of a true leftist. They're like, oh shit, it's not just an aesthetic. And by the way, I've always appreciated Chris Moss' aesthetics. It's unapologetically him. But he could have switched that up. He could have, or the opposite. When you see, non-white people, in this case specifically black people, suddenly switch up to play up to it. We've seen some politicians do it. Conveniently when they're grandstanding or when they're nervous that they're going to lose re-election. I don't know if y'all saw. I literally had his name on the tip of my tongue. New York. Adams. Adams was saying that he was that you could find him at night behind a barber shop or hair salon, smoking and drinking Henny. Literally trying to become a caricature to try and try desperately to win, to get reelected, to maintain his seat. It's weird out there. It's weird out there, y'all. But Chris Moss has never played up to that, and he did a great interview with Brianna Joygrave, which was the inspiration for why I wanted to do that. Chris Moss versus, literally, that's how irrelevant he is to my head. I just blinked out on his name again. Fine, uh, Sean Fain. There you go. Made him so really relevant real fucking quick. Was because how much I truly appreciate how authentic and genuine Chris Moss, in my opinion, always carried himself. And this just highlights that. This just further highlights how legit he is. That he's the real fucking deal. Has AOC? She still hasn't said anything. Let me just double check. Let's. We like to. We're haters here, but you know we hate with the truth. AOC, Chris, Smalls. This is 1 day ago. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything. But again, like I said, Amazon Union Leader slams AOC. She doesn't deserve this moment. You know, it could have been so easy for him. Any message for AOC specifically, status quo as Smalls on April 1st after the result of the vote to unionize the warehouse in Staten Island were revealed. Hell no. Quote, hell no. I'm not giving her. No, she doesn't deserve this moment, Mr. Small said. Like I said, he could have been. You know how easy it would have been for him to be like, oh yeah, look, AOC, you know, couldn't have done this without you, this and that. Just bullshit it. Just bullshit. With Bernie, this and that. Because Bernie was the one that got him in the cover of one of these magazines. I forget which one he mentioned, but if you check out his interview, this is Chris Moss on Bad Faith. Do me a favor, y'all. If you're new here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And if you've been lingering, hit the like, if you will. But check out this interview. Chris Moss blasts Biden-Harris pro-union administration, quote unquote. But here he talks briefly about, and I've been over that video on stream. He talks about how it was actually Bernie who started getting him all this media attention. And now a Radlib would be like, well, that's great. Bernie was showing solidarity by giving him all this media attention and access. Again, you got to look beneath the shallow fucking, you know, waters that these Radlibs love to frolic in. That's Bernie letting him know, hey, you play ball with me. You know, if you're my guy, this is what you're gonna get. Look at the access and the opportunities I can provide for you. If we play lefty, if we pretend to be on the left, if we pretend to be anti-establishment, if we pretend to want a political revolution. Yeah, oh, just like Mahmoud Khalil. She'll be there. Well, I don't know. Chris Moss has been, you know, been standing on it for a minute, so maybe she won't. Maybe she's smart enough. Smalls entered the public eye. Okay. The idea of targeting the one black, yeah, we've seen that. The idea of targeting the one black man on the aid ship is sadly unsurprising. Is the lack of uproar from U.S. politicians and large media outlets. Yet another U.S. citizen assaulted and detained by the ADF. Yet no peep from either side of the aisle because Smalls is a black American leftist who was standing up to Israel's campaign of mass starvation and trying to deliver baby food and flour to suffering Palestinians in Gaza. I'm thinking of Chris Smalls and about how, because he's black, no Greta Thunberg, no celebrity, no darling of the liberal class, he might not make it out alive. Author Felix wrote on X. Blacks, when vulnerable and on its knees, blackness, when vulnerable and on its knees, is a white supremacy. What the fuck? Is a white supremacist fantasy. Okay, yeah, that's why I was having stream. I'm like, wait, what? Yeah, I don't know if it's how they broke up the quote. Let me actually read the. 'Cause that was throwing me off. I'm thinking Chris Small. Excuse me. Okay, it's good here. I'm thinking of Chris Smalls and about how, because he's black, no Greta Thunberg, no celebrity, no darling of the liberal class, he might not make it out alive. Blackness, when vulnerable and on its knees, is a white supremacist fantasy. I do think it's not an. Yeah, okay. Huh. While smaller unions have spoken up to condemn Small's arrest, Teamsters, who worked with Smalls on Amazon Labor Union, has yet to make a statement on his violent detainment, failing spectacularly to meet the moment. While Smalls and other flotilla members remain in IDF custody, the coalition plans to send another aid ship very soon, yet another direct challenge to the Israeli government. We are calling on others around the world, definitely our countries, to live up to their obligation of enforcing international law, of protecting human rights, but also other institutions that are founded to do the same. Said Hawaida Araf, a Palestinian American attorney and Hadala member who was released from IDF custody due to her Israeli citizenship. Fucking disgusting, bro. I think this might be like the first moment that I've seen a counter argument for my position that all of these Zionists should, if they're all these Jewish people that are truly denouncing Zionism, that they should like renounce their quote unquote Israeli citizenship. I think this might be the first time that I see literally it being used for something good, I guess, to be a voice. But I can see the argument the other way of saying like, well, renounce it and stay locked up with everybody else. Solidarity, right? But I'm not there, so it's easy to yap. We should not be waiting for Israel to give permission for food or other humanitarian aid to enter. We need to be challenging, and breaking the blockade. And our government not only have not been doing anything about it, the US government did not make contact with any of the 7 American citizens on board, but the others, like France, Spain, Italy, contacted their citizens on board and told them that they are ready to provide consular services when Israel kidnaps us, which we found to be completely obnoxious, she said. Yeah, it's basically like a warning or letting them know that their efforts are futile. They were legitimizing Israeli piracy on the high seas, exactly. And that is unacceptable to us. And that is the kind of impunity that all governments really have been allowing Israel to just violate international law. Now, an opportunist like Nick Cruz from Revolutionary Blackout Network would be like, see, this is evidence, and then spews anti-Semitism about, um, Jews controlling all fucking international bodies, state bodies, this and that. It's like, no, you fucking anti-Semitic fuck. This is evidence that all these, the Western powers are all invested in the colonization of Palestine in order to establish a foothold in that region, both for resources and to prevent and combat the, expanding influence of China. But, apparently that requires some fucking thinking to make such a clear analysis. So once again, all respect, uh, all appreciation, all admiration to Chris Moss and all those who are unnamed, unknown, that risk their lives to show true solidarity with Palestinians. Jabari, Jabari, jeez, homie. But Jabari, you hit on a good point. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes especially because the online space is so white. Like sometimes when you read certain jokes or certain little comments, you got to do a double take to make sure, like, oh, this better not be a white person making this joke. Um, but I think I don't know. I feel like we don't really have a white audience around here. Hopefully, um, but Jabari, you make I know you're you know joking at a time like this. Yeah, that's how we get through it. I suppose. Am I gonna cultivate like the most like leftist dark humor motherfuckers? uh, or, and I just remembered what's Pete Buttigieg, where he was I believe he was at a HBCU, and he was talking. He said instead of dark money, he said black money. Uh, I don't know. When I said right now dark humor, that just came to mind right now, especially because Pete Buttigieg is getting praise, right? Um, for his opportunism, because he's one of the names that's being floated around to run for president alongside Newsom and Alejandra Ocasio Cortez. No, no, I feel you. Yeah, we do got to make these jokes. But Jabari said maybe the IDF thought he was Ta-Nehisi Coates. Cold blooded. Yes, and thank you for bringing that up, because that kind of leads us perfectly into the video that we're going to cover. That you know, it's this is just it's sick, man. It's so sick. Peter Beinart, who we've talked about here before, I used to talk about him a lot more, and originally when I would stream, but recently we talked about him in reference to Hasan Cultist and Sam Cedar Defender, uh, Ogre Boy. Peter Beinart is literally the poster boy of liberal Zionism, and he is in the vanguard of liberal Zionism. And here he is with Jon Stewart from The Daily Show, another liberal Zionist. Let's not get it twisted. He's a liberal Zionist. They both are. They're just the most progressive wing of liberal Zionists, of Zionism at large. And that's why I say they are the vanguard of liberal Zionism. How does that connect with Ta-Nehisi Coates? Well, Ta-Nehisi Coates, and I didn't know this, I actually haven't finished watching the video. I just had barely started it. But it's yeah. And then it's Peter Beinart. There you go. They actually had like a long ass conversation about this. Um and it's like it's really disgusting, because it's not a secret. It's not a secret. Here they are. It's not a secret. It's never been a secret that Peter Beinart is a Zionist, a liberal Zionist, sure, but a Zionist nonetheless. Now, if you're new here, this actually might force the video to get taken down. Definitely, it's gonna get a copyright thing because of this. I just remembered. So I don't know if the video is gonna get removed because of this, or they're gonna require this portion to get removed. I kind of forgot about that. Not gonna lie, it's not about monetization. I usually don't monetize the streams, anyways. But I also don't want the stream to completely get removed, even though I unlist them. That's so frustrating. I just remember that. How we doing, Matthew? So in this interview, and I encourage y'all to check it out. It's the Daily Show. It's Comedy Central. It's Jon Stewart. It's gonna get tons of views. Yours isn't gonna positively affect it. You're not putting money directly into Jon Stewart's liberal Zionist pockets. But in this video, They literally pretend like, first of all, Peter Barnard goes out of his way again to bring up, October 7th and the crimes of Hamas. Disgusting. But they're kind of talking about Jews in the diaspora, excuse me. Like if they're kind of like, hey, like, what do we need to do to reach out to them, to wake them up? And it's like you have white supremacists amongst you committing a genocide. And sometimes I've seen it that some things will get taken down like while streaming. That's why I'm hesitant. Especially I think before I could have gotten away with it, the real, because we used to have like 12 people on here, and watch us have 12 right now too. Shout out to the people that show up. I truly, truly, genuinely appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy this, watching this as much as I enjoy streaming it with y'all. What do we got? We got 70 people, and I appreciate y'all for being here. So, but I feel as your channel grows, the quicker things are to get pulled. Can I go audio only? Oh, thank you. Yeah, maybe just play it but not show it. Is that what you're saying? Are we cool with that? Let's see.
Yes. You are Jewish. I am Jewish. People yell at me about what I say sometimes about.
Let me do this. Will it play if I change? Because let's see. Thank you. Let's see, John Stewart. If I do this, let me see if I want to open image in a different screen, bro. There we go. If we do this, will the audio still play from that? Let's find out.
Palestine and what's going on in Israel, and they call me a bad Jew. Apparently, you can lose points. What are you experiencing as someone who is writing very clearly about your upset at what is occurring in Gaza?
Well, I have lost, some pretty close friends over this, but I also don't worry about having to feed my kids. They're not starving.
Right.
They're not being killed. I have freedom. I really have an incredibly fortunate and blessed life. And even though...
Can you imagine saying it took October 7th for me to lose Zionist friends? Because that's the Hasan Piker approach, right? But that's how this disgusting. Let's see if I don't want to opening the link. That's how disgusting this is. That this is the moment where you're losing friends. And don't get me wrong, Peter Beinart was always kind of disliked in certain Zionist circles. But he was still seen and recognized as a Zionist. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that he was literally known as, quote, the poster boy of liberal Zionism. That was his tag. That was the emblem that he wore. He was proud of that shit. Man.
It's hard sometimes to have other Jews really not like me because Judaism is everything to me. It's at the center of my life. I've also met so many other people from so many different walks of life who care about the same things that I do, who believe that all human beings are created in the image of God. And I know a lot of people caricature a lot of these people who care about Palestinian rights and freedom as being anti-Semitic. Mm-hmm. But to be honest, the vast, vast majority of people I meet, they strike me as the kind of people who would have stuck up for us when we were in trouble. The kind of people who are willing to risk something because when they see people suffering and being abused, they act. And those are the people who I want to be around.
You bring up...
Okay, I'm going to try and be not hypercritical in this, just in this right here. Everything else, yes. But I've never been comfortable with the idea of hey, let's go ahead and center ourselves. And you usually see this with whiteness. But let's go ahead and censor ourselves and be like, hey, they would have saved us too. These people standing up for Palestinians, they would have stood up for us. Think about that. Think about that. And it's like, bro, they don't give a fuck. They don't care. These white supremacists, Zionists, don't view other people as human beings. They don't view other people as human beings. And this is the issue that I'm seeing with, and as an atheist, like, it's something that I kind of have to watch myself, because it's very easy to just kind of start hating on all religions and stuff like that. And I don't want to do that because it's very childish, in my opinion. It's very rudimentary. It's very kind of like edgy atheist. Judaism is dangerous in itself because they're saying we are God's chosen people. Now, you could make the argument, well, every religion believes that God favors them, this and that, because they're practicing true religion that God, deems favorable, this and that. And I agree with you in that position. However, in order to be seen as a real Jew, your mother has to be Jewish. Your mother has to be Jewish. Because, hey, anyone could be your father. Anyone could be your father. The fucking lechero, the milkman, could be your pops for all we know, and he could be what do they call non-Jews? I always forget, man. Goyim. You could be a goy. All right? Which, hey, you're never going to convince me that's not an insult, that's not a slur. But anywho. Because you're essentially saying God doesn't favor you. God doesn't choose you. You're not one of God's chosen people. Right? But when you add a genetic, talking about fucking genes over here, with American Eagle commercial, with Sweeney, whatever her name is, the white woman. When you make it a genetic component, and you're saying you're God's chosen people, now you're making it like a race thing. It's not about faith anymore. It's not about your devotion to the Torah, to the Talib, or what do they call it? The Jewish Bible. Let's find out. Let's educate ourselves. Talmud. That's the word I was looking for. The Talmud is the central text of the rabbinic Judaism and the primary source of Jewish religious law and Jewish theology. This is the AI overview. Which is kind of annoying to use. This is interesting. Anyway, I'm gonna get distracted. I'm gonna get distracted. I'm sorry. I mean, I was tempted to becoming like a theology major because I just do find it fascinating. However, no, and hey, y'all correct me, call me out if I'm wrong. But I'm telling you the way that I see it. You're saying that you're God's chosen people, but you're adding a genetic component to it. That only through your mother can you be considered part of God's chosen people. And even converts aren't really recognized or legitimized or seen as real Jews. So for me, like, the ingredients were always there for somebody to co-opt or to weaponize Judaism and make it into a supremacist ideology. Clearly, you can make similar arguments with Islam and Christianity, Hinduism, like even Buddhism, right? You can make all those arguments with all the other religions. I am just highlighting that with I'm just going to say the other two Abrahamic ones, I'm not seeing, or I'm not aware of, I'm not educated, so please help me out here, of a genetic component. Because they were all trying to, garner Christianity and Islam, the other two of the big three of the Abrahamic religions, they were all trying to get more converts. Judaism has never worked that way, really. They literally were not out there spreading the gospel, literally. So my concern is about that genetic. Call yourself God's chosen people. Every fucking religious group, sect, religion, cult, whatever, does it. But when you add that genetic component, it's a supremacist, becomes a supremacist, religion. Oh wow, that's crazy. Spamtana. My Catholic education started with reading Talmud. Crazy reading the story of Amalek as a freshman in high school and telling the friar, bro, this is genocide. Spantana's like, this is, high school Spantana. Excuse me, I believe this is extermination. It's like, yeah, fuck. And they're like, yeah. What was their response? What was the friar's response? Like, yeah, like high-fiving you? Like, yes. Wild. But if it's a Catholic education, were they pushing anti-Semitic, were they making you read this for anti-Semitic purposes? Because the Catholics reign pretty fucking high on the anti-Semitism list. Yeah, wild. Yeah, so so for example, if I convert to Judaism, can I be a candidate to colonize in Palestine? Yes. Oh yeah, you could convert. I'm saying so, but here's where Zionism has to distort or bastardize Judaism. One would argue even further, because they need bodies. They need bodies. They need people to take up physical space. They're going to displace Palestinians, but they need people to replace them, to occupy land, to be a colonizer and willing to take up arms against the indigenous Palestinian population, / also be a casualty to be used as an excuse to continue taking land and attacking and oppressing and suppressing Palestinians, the indigenous population. Sweeter than anything, I can see the case with that, for that with Judaism, but like we can't act like Zionism didn't happen. It changed the world forever. Oh no, for sure. I'm just saying the ingredients were there. That chemical X was there. Let's not act surprised. And yes, most, if not all, religions have that chemical X in them. But I'm struggling when we're talking about the big three to see the other ones have that genetic component to it, which for me is kind of like, oh, I mean, that was always sketchy. All right.
Such an interesting point, because it does cut to the idea of who qualifies as a good Jew and a bad Jew. And admittedly, I don't know all the different things in the nuance of the history here, or what happened in '93 at the agreement that might have turned, but I know what I'm seeing. And I have a moral clarity about what I'm seeing. And what I'm seeing, I think, as someone who was raised in Judaism, that's what taught me that this is wrong. What I'm seeing happening in Gaza is wrong. We learn in Judaism, it's funny. You learn that you're the underdog. That's kind of the history.
Right.
I always looked at the chosen people as kind of a wry. When you read the history of the Jews, you're like, you're the chosen people. And you want to say to God, like, if you could choose someone else. But what happens when David becomes Goliath?
Yeah.
And the responsibility there, is that what troubles you?
Yeah, I mean, our responsibility is to remember what was done to us, to remember what we would have wanted people around the world. I'm not saying that what's happening in Gaza is the equivalent of the Holocaust or anything like that. But what's happening in Gaza is bad enough.
It may be a slow-mo. You know, I saw an article in the Times, Brett Stevens, I think, and his argument was this can't be a genocide because Israel's so strong they could kill them much quicker.
Right.
And I thought, well, that's the most cynical description of a military siege and a purposeful starvation that I've ever seen in my life.
Right. I mean, even Israel's leading human
Fuck, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm getting so tired of hearing them speak. Because it's like this faint concern, and even the tone in their voice is infuriating me. And but you know, this is how much I despise these liberal Zionists. Brian Gutierrez, I'm glad you were able to catch this live. I appreciate you. And yeah, I'm gonna try sticking around 10 a.m. to the stream, just because, like I said earlier, my sleep schedule's in the gutter right now. So on my off days, I'm able to sleep in a little bit more. And by a little bit more, it's 7 a.m. For my early birds out there. You know, when 7 a.m. is sleeping in, you're having a good day, but it's gross. I'm a night owl by nature, so if I could, I'd be sleeping until noon, going to sleep like around 2-3 a.m. But not for functioning me. Anywho, it's so frustrating hearing these like liberal Zionists because it's not just what they're saying, but the tone that they use. Yes, I am tone policing, but it's kind of like this faint concern, like, you know, just the way that I was raised to, you know, to be a good Jewish ally to all those oppressed minorities. Seeing starving Palestinians, you know, just it doesn't align with it. Just it isn't it. It isn't it. And it's just so, you know, heartbreaking. And anywho, Peter Beinhart, how do Jews move forward from this in the midst of a genocide? How do we do it, Peter Beinhart? How, poster boy of liberal Zionism? How do I normalize you even further as these Palestinian children starve and their family members are massacred in front of them? How do we, in the Jewish faith, forgive ourselves? It's like, bro, what the fuck is wrong with you? How can you even be talking in this way? And of course, all these fucking rad-libs that want to claim to be part of the left and fuck this whole no true Scotsman bullshit. If you voted to normalize genocide when the Democratic Party is conducting it, you're not on the left. You're not on the left. I don't care what fucking policies you want. You're not on the left. You're a fucking fascist enabler at best when it fucking suits you, when it benefits you. Man, I fucking hate these people. And you should too. And you should too. We should view them as our enemies because if we're being selfish, if we want to censor ourselves, the way apparently these motherfuckers want to censor, you know, the enablers, those that are not just abiding, but encouraging, calling for more genocide, more death, more ethnic cleansing, more displacement, more genocide, more extermination. If they want to censor themselves, let's try it out. If you think these fucking rad-libs that are still endorsing the Democratic Party, that voted for Holocaust Harris, that we're going to vote for Genocide Joe, we're being fucking honest with ourselves. If you think they won't vote for them when they're targeting you, your community, you're out of your fucking mind.
Human rights organization, B'Tselem, has just come out with a report saying they believe this is genocide. So it seems to me, if we want to remember our history, if we want to honor those in our own families and of our people who were slaughtered and who were genocided, who were starved to death while nobody in the world cared, our obligation is to care. Our obligation is to risk something.
Listen, man. This has rocked I feel like a crazy person. I feel like I'm watching something that is so evidently inhumane and horrific, and to be told that I have to shut up because I risk the Jewish state by speaking out, I would say the opposite. I think they're putting the likelihood of a surviving Jewish state much more at risk.
Here we go.
With this type of action. I think they're the ones that are being anti. If you want to define Netanyahu, but with the definition.
You see how it all comes back to this? No. The actions that the Zionist entity in control of Benjamin Netanyahu carrying out this genocide is actually putting the Zionist project at greater risk. This is why liberal Zionists hate Benjamin Netanyahu. This is why liberal Zionists oppose the outright genocide of Palestinians, because they understand that the proper way to colonize Palestine is the way that the left Zionists have been doing from the beginning. You're patient and you wait for proper opportunities. David Ben-Gurion was the one that just all right, take what you can and just be patient and you'll get more. Just wait for that opportunity. Golda Meir, Bernie Sanders' ex-lover, she was the one that said, hey, do as much as possible and say as little. She didn't want any media to be brought when a new land was conquered, when new land was occupied in the kibbutz. She was telling, the other political members of the Zionist entity, hey, stop advertising our colonization. Be quiet about it, but keep doing it. You're doing great, sweetie. You're doing great. Keep stealing that land. Just don't be too braggadocious about it. You're going to get other people's attention. You're going to trip us up. You're going to reveal the fucking game being played. Man. Yeah, exactly, Dorville. They're making us look bad. They're making us look bad. You're embarrassing us. The uncle saying what the whole family believes, but he's saying it too loud at the fucking dinner table. You're making us uncomfortable with the reality of what we are.
Definition of anti-Semitism would probably have to bomb himself.
I mean,
yeah.
And again, highlighting the fact that it's what Bernie Sanders does. Another leader, another in the vanguard of liberal Zionism. This is Benjamin Netanyahu. It got to the point that Chuck fucking Schumer was calling for essentially like a coup to oust Benjamin Netanyahu. It's like when Chuck Schumer can take off the gloves and call out Benjamin Netanyahu, do you not see the game being played before us? Do you not see the normalization happening where they're trying to pin everything on Benjamin Netanyahu? Jon Stewart just did the same thing. But it's all done for the purpose of salvaging the Zionist project, even if that means embracing quote-unquote democracy. Embracing this multi-ethnic dream of a liberal Zionist. But as long as they maintain majority control of power, majority control of the resources and the land, that's what they care about. I'm talking about the prestige land. Because that's what they target first and foremost. What we're hearing are European colonizers thinking, maybe we should recognize some of these indigenous tribes. Maybe, once you have them in the fucking reservation, maybe now we can let them have, casinos. Ooh, wow. And sure, you have reactionaries like Arnold Schwarzenegger out here in California that were like fear-mongering about casinos and this and that, Native Americans and taxes and all this bullshit. But that's how the left is able to get by with the normalization of colonization, by posting themselves next to these fucking rabid fucking reactionaries. Pancho, yes, pin it on one bad man instead of examining the system. Exactly. Oh shit. Exactly the way that people blame Trump. Trump is the issue, because I don't know if you know this, Pancho. We had fascism for the first time during the first Trump administration. Then we had a 4-year pause thanks to Biden. Never mind the genocide of Palestinians, because that was abroad. So he can't be a fascist if he does fascism abroad. And then fascism got reelected. So for the first time in U.S. history, we got fascism too. Shit.
Martin Luther King said that white and black Americans were bound up in a single garment of destiny, right? Palestinians and Israeli Jews, and in some ways Jews around the world, were bound up in a single garment of destiny. If we want Israeli Jews to be safe, and I care passionately about the safety of Israeli Jews, in the long term, Israeli Jews are only going to be safe if Palestinians are going to be safe. And Palestinians can't be safe unless they're free. If they're under oppression, if they live under conditions that even Israel's own human rights organizations called apartheid, they are suffering radical amounts of violence all the time, even before October 7th. Do we think, when we think about all these kids in Gaza who are watching their parents starving to death, who are watching dozens of their family members being killed, is that good for Israel? Is that good for Israeli Jews in the long term? How you treat people has an impact on how they treat you, right? And if you want Israeli Jews to be safe, Palestinians also have to be safe.
How does
And the claps, that's what kills me the most.
and look, listen, this is a tough conversation because
Normalize equating the colonizer with the colonized. This is fucking disgusting, man. This is still Zionist propaganda. This is still Zionist propaganda amidst a genocide of Palestinians through the Zionist fucking entity. This is still Zionist propaganda. You should still be in a fucking Nuremberg trial because of this. Jon Stewart for fucking platforming this unchallenged, and Peter Beinart for continuing to be the fucking poster boy of liberal Zionism. This is some fucking white supremacist shit. Understand that. And this is what the Radliffs, the Serfs, the Hasan Pikers, the Emma Vigeland, the Sam Cedars, this is what they fucking glorify. And when I say they are fucking enemies, this is why I say it. Because they uphold white supremacy. Because it fucking benefits them. Because God forbid they take a moment to analyze themselves as settlers, as colonizers. What the fuck does that mean? Where does that push you? What does that mean about your fucking voice? About who you platform? About who you acknowledge? About what you read? About what you advertise? Of what you promote? What does it mean as a propagandist to acknowledge your position? And they can't fucking do that because they're too fucking shallow and too concerned about clout and making more money and more money and more money and more money. Now notice the structure. All right, when we talk about being a spokesperson, about being a propagandist, every fucking word matters, but the way that you deliver it and how it flows is just as significant. Meaning, I gotta sandwich my bullshit through here. So I'm gonna start in this little portion. What does he do? He's gonna start by saying, oh, this isn't good for Jewish people. This isn't good for the Zionist entity. We got to treat the fucking savages, the indigenous Palestinians, right. If we want to avoid blowback for our colonizations of Palestine. That's what Peter Beinart is saying. That's what he starts off saying, and then he finishes off by saying, oh, you know, watching these Palestinian people, you know, these children suffer, this and that, starve, this and that. So then you forget that he's like, oh wait, he was just censoring and the Zionist project and guaranteeing its safety. But now he's talking about, oh, the poor Palestinian children, you know, feigning like he actually cares about them. And that's the last thing that gets left in your head. And so you're not deeply analyzing what he's saying, what he's promoting, which is the safety and the prosperity. The long-term Zionist project is what's being advocated for here. But he finishes off with an emotional, you know, plea for Palestinian children. Until they grow up wanting to, yes, take revenge for the slaughtering of their family members. Yes, wanting to rid themselves of Zionism. And yes, to decolonize Palestine. Liberate Palestine from Zionism. Until then Peter Beinart hates them and considers their rebellion, their resistance as unethical. So understand that these are Zionist propagandists. Sure, they're liberal Zionists, but nonetheless, Zionist propagandists. So when you go back and you re-listen to it, and I encourage everybody, don't fucking just take my word for it. Listen to this shit on your own, for yourself. We need to develop fucking media literacy. Or else you're going to end up like Hasan thinking that Superman Red Sun was painted communism in any positive fucking light. Or else we're going to end up like all the fucking white bread tube and think that Superman was pro-Palestine. Jeez, yo. Man, this is not good for the Zionist entity. This is what Peter Beinart is saying. That is his whole message. This is not good for the safety, prosperity, and long-term longevity of the Zionist project. That's what he's concerned about. That's what liberal Zionists think. They're like, as liberal Zionists are willing to make concessions, liberal Zionists are willing to make concessions and compromise with the structure of the Zionist project in order to guarantee its survival. That's what they've always done. Oh yeah, we'll fucking play ball. We'll agree to certain, concessions. But at the end of the day, the Zionist project continues to gain more and more legitimacy, continues to conquer more and more land. Just look at the fucking West Bank. Just look at the fucking West Bank. That is, yes, it's being led by these rabid fundamentalists without a doubt. They hate liberal Zionists. Liberalism is a slur for them. However, the ones that are providing the avenue for the West Bank to be colonized initially were liberal Zionists. Jeez. All right. Yeah, if it's, I'll leave this up for the day before unlisting it. But if you click on any video, it'll be on your history, even if it gets unlisted.
We are two people that I think see this situation very similarly.
Right.
I obviously see it from a more secular perspective because I am, even before Gaza, a bad Jew. Like, first night of Passover for me was like meatball Parmesan hero. Like, I was not good. I was not good. But you see, all of our holidays, the whole entire ethos, for me, of being Jewish, and I don't doubt that there are people that have a radically different interpretation than I do, but it's all about, like, we were about to be wiped out. We were in a cave. We had 3 days of oil. And then suddenly, the Maccabees overcame it all. Or Purim, Esther, she was almost destroyed by Haman and the Jewish people with, but she went to Mordecai. And now we wear costumes and do, like, it was always like, oh, they almost got us, but wait.
Right, right.
It's more complicated than that, isn't it?
It's true, because if you read the Hebrew Bible, if you read the Talmud, what you see is that our religious texts describe us in the full range of humanity. We're human beings. Nothing human is alien to us. We can be horribly victimized, and our texts talk about that. But the end of the book of Esther, from which the Purim story comes, also ends with a massacre by Jews of the Jews' enemies. The story of Hanukkah doesn't, and the story of the Chazmonaim, the Maccabees became in power. Mm-hmm. It moves from them liberating the Jewish people to them becoming oppressors themselves. So part of recognizing us as human, as Jews, as fully human, is recognizing that we are capable of being victims and being victimizers. And we have to recognize that in order to prevent us from falling into the trap of thinking that every single situation is the equivalent of what was happening in the Tsarist Russia or in Nazi Germany. Right. In some situations, the power dynamic is reversed. In Israel-Palestine, it's Jews who all enjoy legal supremacy and citizenship. and Palestinians who are denied basic rights. And we have to recognize that that's possible, and we have to fight against it for our own sake and for the sake of our honor.
How do we get past those
For the sake of our honor. I mean, take a shot every time it's about me, and Judaism. Every fucking time. The censoring is atrocious. Jabari G, do you think Stewart is in on the game, or he's delusional about what's really happening? I need to go back to this. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I put it on the back burner. Settler realism. So when I was debating Sam Cedar, Emma Vigeland, and Matt Leck, all who are liberal Zionist propagandists, over their, liberal Zionist propaganda, the debate, check this out. It's still up on the channel. Emma Vigeland literally accused me of being anti-Semitic, for being critical, for bringing up and, being critical of, Jewish scholars, including Norm Finkelstein, which is hilarious because the Majority Report refuses to have Norm Finkelstein on because of his transphobia, which is weird because the Majority Report has been going on for about 20 years. Let's say 15 to be charitable to Sam's reign over it, right? Because the Majority Report wasn't Sam Cedar's original project. He took over. So they had 15 years to have Norm Finkelstein on, who has always been critical, mind you, critical. Liberal Zionists can be critical of Zionism, of the Zionist entity, while still legitimizing its existence. That's what Norm Finkelstein has always done. And they never had Norm Finkelstein on. That's suspicious to say the least. So she accused him of being anti-Semitic. To Sam Cedar's credit, he shot that down immediately. It's always hilarious when a white woman can accuse you of being a misogynist, a sexist. So they try to pull the race card on behalf of somebody else. And then that person's like, what the fuck are you talking about? But yeah, go check out that. It was a panel review of my debate with them. It was a good time. I enjoyed it. Something like that will never happen again. Because people are fucking weird online and they're not honest. They're not genuine. That's disappointing. Look, what you see is what you get with me. I'm too tired. I'm too exhausted to bullshit y'all. That's the reality. That's why I'm honest. I am honest because I am too fucking lazy to lie or be something else that I'm at. It's just easier to be honest with yourself, to be honest with everybody. It avoids problems. I don't want to keep track of lies. I got too much going on in my mind. I can't keep track of when I fucking eat sometimes, bro. Honestly, I forget that. Did I not eat? And I realize that I'm being an asshole to everyone around me and that I haven't eaten. Shit, man. So this concept came about fucking stealing and co-opting it from Mark Fisher's Capitalist Realism. Trying to get Sam Cedar to understand what I was saying, I thought of the great white savior saint himself, Michael Brooks, and his love for Mark Fisher's Capitalist Realism. I think because it was a short book. It's not a great read. You just have to read the first fucking a couple pages to understand the point. Because he puts in a lot of pop cultural fluff that is just a waste of time, but understandable if you're trying to get somebody who may not be into, the left, baby steps into it. I get it. Spoon feeding them. I understand that. But I was like, okay, you can't understand what I'm saying, and you can't, more importantly, in Mark Fisher's Capitalist Realism, he says it's easier for us to imagine the end of the world than it is to imagine the end of capitalism, because capitalism has invaded every aspect of our mentality, even though it's relatively young. I took that and said it's easier for colonizers, for settlers to imagine the complete extermination of the indigenous population than it is for them to imagine decolonization. It is almost outside of their capacity to think, to imagine They cannot perceive, conceptualize that reality. It is so foreign to them. That they don't have power, that they don't have control, that they don't make up the majority is beyond them. Yipper 99. You got peer reviewed? Fuck no. You are my peers. But it is something I'm definitely gonna work on. For sure. Oh, I don't give a fuck if you're in the grave. If I don't like you, if I got criticisms, it's till I'm in the grave. And I had, the pleasure to meet Michael Brooks and, grill him a little bit. And he failed the fucking test, but he was respectful, kind, and kind of like, was willing to accept the fact that I was being invasive in this in that space, that I was taking up space. I was like, fuck that. Like, I belong here. I've known that. Peer reviewed, that was hilarious. Let's see. Jabari, yes, I watched this. This might sound crazy, but I was brainwashed ratlib right up until I watched this. I dropped my coffee like I figured out Kevin Spacey was actually Kaiser Soze. Yeah, it just sucks that movie, The Usual Suspects, isn't. Once you get that revealed, it's kind of like, I don't think the rewatchability of The Usual Suspects is that great, even though there's great, characters in it. Yeah, right. Ronaldo kind of makes the Majority Report a little ironic. That's always has. I'm like, do you know who the majority is? Postmodernist colonial mindset. No dogs, no masters. Please elaborate on that. Please elaborate on that. The whole postmodernist kind of like that whole language, like it always, it's a little too heady for me, too academic for me, and I always struggle with it. And like I usually always have to like take notes or listen to that whole like postmodernist talk about Foucault and all this other shit with like extra detail and extra effort, because it's so academic to me that I'm like, just make it plain, keep it simple, get to the point. And I kind of feel like part of those conversations are made to be as unaccessible as possible to protect kind of the academic veneer, of the intellectualism required to understand it. But that could just be me. All right.
Conversations with fellow Jewish people, like I feel like it's been shut down, that they're horrified by things that I would say about the injustice of it all. And I feel like I don't know how to talk to even friends of mine that have gone there. And I imagine they feel the same way about me. But there's an urgency about it now because, like, right now in the situation, we can't be like, but Jews are not getting along with other Jews. Like, that's not the important thing.
What you're doing.
How is the world not stepping in and stopping this atrocity? I don't understand this in any way, shape, or form. It's boggling my mind.
It's worse than just not stepping in. It's our weapons that are enforcing this siege, that is enforcing this mass starvation. In November of 2024, something like 8 months ago, the International Criminal Court issued a warrant for the arrest of Benjamin Netanyahu for the war crime of starvation. Right?
8 months ago.
8 months ago. And the United States responded by trashing the International Criminal Court, even under Biden, and then under Trump imposing sanctions on the International Criminal Court. And so the message to Israel was very clear. You can get away with worse. And so then for almost 3 months early this year, Israel cut off all food, all medicine, all water into the Gaza Strip.
It's a siege. It's a military siege.
Yes, that we are deeply complicit in. It could not happen without us.
Then why can't
Hold on. This is what's so frustrating. You could say us, we, all this stuff about the U.S., without a doubt, that's accurate. But if you are also representing and writing a book about Jews and Judaism, why aren't you as vocal about how every major Jewish institution is in support of the Zionist entity. If not outright having auctions, purchasing, doing fundraisers to purchase fucking drones to go send to Israel so people could scope out the landscape and what other fucking territory they're going to steal. If you're not as vocal about that and objecting it and acknowledging that the entirety of your fucking institutions are pro-colonization, what is your role here? What is your purpose? Matthew Lung, the Hannibal doctrine would speak to how Jews are hurting Jews for the sake of this project. 100%. Because, and this is what makes it difficult to understand too, and to acknowledge, even as I say everything I've been saying about every major Jewish institution supporting colonization of Palestine, we also have to recognize that Judaism has been bastardized and weaponized in order to legitimize this settler colonial project. The very same manner in which Catholicism, Christianity was used to say, oh, no, we are taking this land, the Americas, for, the church. Oh, manifest destiny. Oh, God promised us this land because we're good Christians and we're cultivating, this land from either was empty or from these, godless savages, from these pagans. So never, it is a pillar of it. It is a major variable, the religious aspect, but it is not the sole aspect. It is not the primary contradiction. If it isn't Judaism, it's Catholicism. It's not Catholicism, it's Protestantism, et cetera, et cetera. Religions is weaponized in order to provide people cover for their actions, but also to provide a force, an ideology to fucking, gather all the colonizers together and make them think that they're fighting for a righteous cause. But every religion, requires a unique kind of analysis, and each one requires a different approach to dismantle the colonial forces, the colonial power. Alano, appreciate you being here. I was like, once the Rio bounce, I'm like, oh, am I gonna have to, give modding rights to somebody else too? But I feel like we don't really have, our community, whatever's going on over here. It's not that big yet to where we need a bunch of mods. Even though I appreciate y'all, the regular faces, I really do. Let's wrap up this interview though.
We use our leverage. Surely, the United States can't believe that this is in the best interest of the region. And when Donald Trump says something like finish the job, what job is he talking about? What does that mean?
Well, I mean, the Trump plan made it pretty clear. The mass expulsion of all Palestinians from Gaza. And that is official Israeli government.
But do you believe in the people of Israel would second that? There must be a robust...
There are many Israelis who are appalled by this, absolutely. But the problem is...
Bull fucking shit. The majority of them want more fucking death of Palestinians. Stop with the fucking propaganda, with the lies. They're appalled. What the fuck does it mean to be appalled, anywho? Do they oppose it? What do you mean appalled? Oh, they clutched the pearls. Oh, they're appalled. Just get the fuck out of here. The vast majority support this. Some call for even more bloodshed. Yeah, George. Yeah, why can't they say genocide? They said it at the beginning, but then they're like, oh, ethnic cleansing, oh, blockade, military. Get the fuck out.
When a leader like Netanyahu can get away with this again and again and again, it actually makes him stronger. The way to weaken Netanyahu at home will be to show Israelis that when Netanyahu does these brutal things to the Palestinians, that there are consequences. Not consequences in human lives. I don't want an Israeli to die. But there have to be some consequences so Israelis see that this is not good for them.
But it feels like...
There's got to be consequences for colonizers to know that, hey, if you try to steal other people's land, you're going to get buried in it. There's got to be consequences for colonizers. There's got to be consequences for colonizers thinking that they can invade other people's homes and get away with it. I don't give a fuck if it's 75, 80, 100, 200, 300 years. You don't get to take something by force and claim it as yours and then cry when there's resistance to it. Is it Eden? He is Peruvian. He is Peruvian. Oh, so this like the Pico thing is heavy. Like it's a heavy cultural signifier for Peruvians. That's what's up. I want to hit up my homie about it. I'm not gonna lie, I don't have too many Peruvian homies. So I didn't know about it. I didn't know about the Pico aspect because everybody calls him like Pisco, like piss, right? Or whatever. That's the way they pronounce it. And I always thought that was wrong, but I didn't stop to consider. I'm like, oh, it's supposed to be in Spanish, right? Because you don't really hear him talking Spanish too often. So it's Pisco. All right. But yeah, we're wrapping this up. I think we have like, oh fuck, we have 8 minutes. No, I can't do that, y'all. We need to get to, because it's already gonna be 1. I was trying to get the fuck out of here by 2. I'm not gonna lie. Or somewhere around there. All right.
Like they are not capable of being the arbiters of this dispute. It feels like the occupying power is not allowed to dictate the terms of freedom for the people they occupy. That seems inherently illegal. Yeah. I don't understand how the world doesn't step in and separate these two factions. It's not. I don't even want to call it a war,
bro. That's great that you don't even want to call it a war. To separate these two factions, fucking wild, bro. That's settler realism, I'm telling you. Fucking hell of a drug.
It's a guerrilla operation facing an actual army with planes and bombs.
Right. And to be clear, I know you agree.
It's a guerrilla operation. Close. You're almost there, John Stewart. You're almost there to speaking the truth for once here. No. It is a colonial resistance guerrilla, force for sure, if you want to keep that in there. We can skip this. What's the acronym for ICL?
What Hamas did on October 7th was despicable. These were war crimes. But the thing we have to ask ourselves is, how does Israel react? How do America react when Palestinians fight for their freedom in an ethical way, in a way that...
What Hamas did
was atrocious. It was a war crime.
The question is, how do we go about punishing these indigenous savages? You see add a fucking British accent to that and you realize what a fucking depraved colonizer these people really are. How does one appropriately punish? How do we scold the natives and teach them that they can't fight back? That they can't use violence against violence? Jesus, bro. I don't fuck with AI, but bro, if you add a British accent to this fucking interview, put that shit in black and white, and you get the fucking vibe that we all should be getting from this, except instead, all these rad libs that want to call themselves sock them, socialists, communists, Marxist, Leninists when convenient, will praise John Stewart for this interview. Or will fucking literally platform Peter Beinart like the Majority Report and praise his fucking work. Yeah, it's fucking disgusting, man. To say that armed resistance against your colonizers for the purpose of a hostage exchange here to free Palestinians being fucking disappeared by the Zionist entity, by their colonizers. That was the purpose of October 7th. To say that that's unethical? Get the fuck out.
that respects the lives of Israelis. In 2018, there was a mass march, overwhelmingly nonviolent, in Gaza. Palestinians did exactly what we wanted them to do. They behaved like Gandhis. And did people applaud? No, Israel put sharpshooters with American weapons on the fence and shot thousands of people, so many people that the Gaza had to start an amputee soccer team after that. When they do nonviolent boycotts, we criminalize the boycotts. When they go to the International Criminal Court, we sanction the International Criminal Court. We essentially send the message to Palestinians that nonviolent protest, that ethical protest, resistance doesn't work. And that makes it easier for Hamas to commit the crimes that they did on October 7th.
You need to find a way to ethically protest your own extermination and colonization. You just got to do it. You got to find a way. You got to figure it out, or else you get the stick. Or else we drop bombs on tents. Sorry. That's what he's saying here. That's what he's saying. And that, you know, we need to secure a path that rewards good behavior. Or else the savages are going to get rowdy. We need to provide a path where they could write out a suggestion, maybe a comment, hell, even a question, and just submit it into the box, and we'll get around to it. And we may answer it, we may not. We'll get to it. We'll see how it goes. But maybe we give them a cookie. Maybe we give them a cookie when they behave, and they got to make sure that they write it out nice. They dot their T's and cross their I's. They got to do all that, and then maybe then we won't massacre them. Maybe then we'll stop taking their land. Maybe then we'll get the fuck out. I love that clip from the soldier. I'm assuming that he was from Hamas, but I don't know what faction he was in, to be honest. Telling this colonizer, as he's putting him in this truck, like, you'll find safety off our land, or something to that sentiment. And I was just like, fuck. Whenever you hear, where are they gonna go? Where are the colonizers gonna go? What about the colonizers? Just, I wish I could find that clip. If anybody knows where that clip is at, drop the link. Yes. Yeah. Drums of Liberation. Please leave an IDF Yelp review. That's going to help us make sure that you get some civil rights in this colonial project as we steal more and more of your land and legitimize ourselves, because we're going to allow you to vote now. Fucking A, bro. Know this: when enough Palestinians have been exterminated, that's when they'll get their civil rights. When enough Palestinians have been exterminated, that's when liberal Zionists will be allowed to reclaim their position of power for the Zionist entity again. And everybody's going to fucking cheer. Everybody's going to applaud. Fucking shit. Peter Beinart might become the first prime minister of the renewed democratic Israel. Fucking A. Fuck this. I'm over it. I'm sorry, y'all. We had 6 minutes left, and I'm tapping out there with the Hamas smear. We'll see if that gets pulled. That's my first time focusing on just using the audio for that. Spoiler. But before we get to the debate, we'll only cover about an hour. It's like a 3-hour long debate. Maybe we'll just cover that on Friday. I'm going to be busy tomorrow, so there's not going to be a stream tomorrow. If that changes, put it in the community notes or whatever the hell that is. But thank you for sticking with me for that, and thank you for the suggestion to just play the audio. I honestly, like I said, I was trying out StreamYard for a little bit to make it easier to have guests on. I didn't like how restrictive things were, unreliable with pulling up windows and stuff like that. And I just got used to OBS. It's free. I love the color black, so I love the aesthetic. I don't mind the chat not being as fancy as other chats. If I could change it, maybe I will, but it also makes my window pop a little bit more. Hey, the narcissism feeds it. But that being said, talking about narcissism, yeesh. I don't know if y'all seen this. Let me move this. I can move this up. I don't know if y'all seen this, but Hasan, they got your boy. They got your mans. Man. Oh, sweeter than anything? You're talking about John. John is dope. I believe John the third, something like that. No, John is dope, and he, I think that suggestion about the camera setup was for the videos, not the live streams, for the videos. And he's right, and I agree. I should be a little bit more front and center. It's just I have my place ain't that fancy. You know, I don't live in West Hollywood, and my room isn't that big. So for me to have that set up and still have my background visible, I'd have to like move so much out of the way and rearrange certain stuff. And I might do it just for the videos, because then, you know, it could just be for the day when I record stuff. The what takes long is the writing process, and securing all the clips, and getting everything prepared, and then the editing is what takes the longest. But the actual recording, only because I need to do a bunch of takes to get what I want down right. But that usually takes about a day if I did the writing right. Um, so yeah, I'm still playing with the setup for the videos. For sure, that's going to continue evolving and changing. But the reason why I like this background is not just being like, oh, look at my cool stuff. It could be so easy, and I might end up becoming that person someday, to have, you know, my books, um, all, you know, revolutionary, anti fucking capitalist, fucking the truth about America type books behind me. But I also love this shit. I'm also fucking, I'm fucking a four eyes for a reason, you know? I fucking love the X-Men. I recognize Tom King wrote Mr. Miracle. I think it's a great fucking book. It's unfortunate. Daredevil, the fucking amazing stories. Like, that's just part of it too. You know, I do the escapism. I really do. You know, Noam Chomsky says like, oh, I don't read or watch anything that isn't like, you know, academic and gonna increase my intellect, this and that. And I'm like, bro, you're still a fucking piece of shit anyways. You're still a fucking piece of shit. So, you know, just saying. And something that I realized, because I got other posters around here. I got fucking Daredevil. I got the fucking Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I got the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that aren't on screen. And of course, DBZ with Goku and Vegeta, and your boy fucking Lee, Rock Lee over here. I'm like, oh shit. I don't know why it took me so long to realize like they're all martial arts based. Yeah. I could have gone pro. I appreciate that, Matthew. Yeah. It's just kind of like, come on, stop trying to be so fucking hardcore. Who is that white boy? That white man, good politics guy, or something like that. Um, a little weird, but like left enough for a white person, I guess. But yeah, like whenever I see a flag in the background, I'm always a little like, how performative is this? How much of this is just aesthetic? You know what I mean? Taylor, listen, I still love stuff like the Alien trilogy and Predator series, despite the heavy pro-military propaganda. Yeah, yeah. For me, kind of in that realm, and my apologies if it's a little bit outside of like Predator and Alien, but for me, Terminator 2, especially just having seen Fantastic Four, with, you know, the Silver Surfer, Terminator 2 is still fucking an amazing watch. It's crazy how good he managed to look the T, what was it? The T something, the newer one, the newer model, right? That shit was clean. But that's what that era reminds me of. Because I never got heavy into Alien. I did love Prometheus, because the whole ancient alien shit, you know, I was a little fucking, I was a pothead when Ancient Aliens was big, so, you know, it took me back. Matthew, I have Daredevil Born Again and yeah, Transmetropolitan on my desk at work right now. I have volume 1 of is it Metropolitan? Something like that. I haven't read it yet though. I'm not gonna lie. But I have volume 1, the soft cover. Ronaldo. Yeah, people definitely sleep on Power Rangers. It got, you know, in the comic world, they got popular again because they really devoted some time to everybody loves the Spider-Verse version of their favorite universe. Any white thinkers you like? Oh, yeah, no, I've said this for the longest. Like, it hurts to say, but Chris Hedges is like one of my favorite fucking writers, and he's such a prude and such a fucking anti-communist. But I think his writing style is great, really accessible. I don't agree with him as a person on a lot of things, but I always tell people you have to read Chris Hedges, specifically American Fascists, The Rise of the Evangelical Right is a must read. When I finally, because I still feel awkward about monetizing the channel and setting up a Patreon, but I said, like, when I set up the Patreon, the first thing we're going to review is the Turner Diaries. I always want to say Nat Turner, my apologies. The Turner Diaries. Like, I want to use the Patreon to talk and discuss about books and literature and right-wing propaganda that would get me like banned on YouTube and on Twitch, because I think it's important for us, the global majority, to truly study and dissect white supremacy and white supremacy propaganda, like the real fucking Stormfront shit, So, especially going back to like the militias that started all this kind of conspiracy theory, anti-government Zog bullshit. But I can't do that on here. And so, yeah, I'll start the Patreon, and I do think like a book club and would be dope on there. I'm just so uncomfortable when it comes to like setting up the tiers. And I don't want to restrict anyone for having access, but I also don't want people hate watching and taking things out of context. So it's tricky. I'm the type of person that gets like, I'm not really an anxious person. At least I don't think I am. But I get anxious when like I have to like tell somebody to do something or require something like that. Like, I'm really bad at setting up boundaries in weird ways. Like, I always mobile order on my subs. If I ever go to Subway, I mobile order them because I feel so awkward asking somebody like, "Oh, can you put this on there?" And then this, I'm gonna need a little bit more of that. Like, I get so fucking like, man, I'm just like, whatever you want. I'll eat whatever you serve me, So, the Patreon requires you to set up tiers, and part of me is kind of like, whatever you want to pay. I don't, I'm awkward as fuck with it. And especially because early on, I ran my mouth about, monetizing this stuff until I fucking realized how much time and effort does go into this stuff. When you're actually fucking, doing the work and not just stealing other people's content. When you're actually providing analysis, critical analysis, not fucking lazy, shallow shit. Yeah, we always have to be critical of our media. Yipper, we all have our guilty pleasures and escapism, but Marvel, unforgivable. Hey, fuck off. This is on this side. Sorry, forget the flip. I have more image titles than anything, if I'm not mistaken. Close, but yeah, only because those Daredevil runs, fuck, crazy runs. Yipper, no Superman. Yeah, I mean, I've never been a big Superman fan, to be honest. Where are we at? Just checking out the chat, and then we'll move forward. Yeah, Terminator 2. Glad we all agree on that. And kind of anti-cop, not really, but I like that the forms you don't trust cops just because they're wearing the uniform. Yeah, the T2000. Ooh. I like the lore of Predator better. You know what, though? I was a big fan of Terminator Salvation. I think Christian Bale did a fucking awesome job. I'm glad we got some Prometheus love. Ooh, you have a comic pool? I tried that and I just couldn't keep up with it. I prefer volumes, but I love my single issue buyers. Y'all keep, good stories alive. But I do really prefer volumes. I also read things online. I sail the seven seas and read a couple issues, and if I like it, I'll buy the volume. but it's so much of the comic industry is hit or miss. Yeah, Prometheus is Anunnaki. I'm telling you, I used to be in those conspiracy rabbit holes. Yeah, Lana, I'm sorry, Chris Hedges. I know he's such a good writer. I can't, I'm a hater, but I'm honest. Taylor, I have a shrine to see no more with comic books and panels, plushies and figurines. So your background makes me feel seen. You know, yeah, we crave the escapism, but choose a dope thing to escape into. You know, uh, Chris Hedges is so monotone in the face. Enjoy hearing his takes, but he has no facial expression. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's kind of he has the whole wax figure face going on. Camp of the Saints next month. I don't get the reference there, Matthew. Uh, what was it that you meant to read on Manifesto with the book club? Um, I don't know of any fucking lefty book club that has read the Turner Diary, and I'm like, why not, bro? Days of Destruction, Days of Revolt was my introduction to Chris Hedges. Bro listed why capitalism is evil and still shits on the ideology against it. Yeah. He's one of those like, oh, governments are bad. He's like more anarchist than anything, which is kind of weird, but then I know he's not an anarchist. Sweeter than anything, I'm currently about to finish a marathon of 2007 Ego Trips, the White Rapper Show. Absolutely fascinating document on the form of shit reality TV. Huh. So it's interesting. Oh, I used to love fucking Rock of Love, Flavor of Love, all that trash VH1 TV. Oh fuck, man, I should have been hella brainwashed. But yes, they were gonna do a movie, I believe, on the Pirate Predator comic book. The story explaining the Predator got the pistol from the 1800s. Oh, that would have been dope. Yeah, Predator lore is fucking awesome. I love anything with like time period bullshit. Have they done Van Helsing versus Predator? That'd be dope. Uh, all right, we'll get back to it, but appreciate you on the chat. Quality trash TV. I mean, come on, Lana. Yeah, so many people are anti-communist that it's almost we all have our favorite anti-communist, I guess. Oh, and then on the Patreon, I would love to do some watch-alongs. Some watch-alongs would be dope. But again, like it feels weird, like because I'm broke. Like I'm broke. Like I don't play about that shit, you know? And a lot of it was from poor decisions being younger and trying to, adjust some things financially to make up for that. Um and then being being me and I'm like, "Oh, let me start streaming. Let me start making videos when I should be picking up shifts, homie." Um but so I get people I don't want to isolate anybody that's down to watch. I hate paywalls, you know what I mean? So I'm definitely gonna have an open door policy for anybody that like me is struggling. But I do want to avoid copyright strikes, and I do want to do cool shit like watching documentaries. We have No Más Bebés to watch, La Operación. No Más Bebés is a documentary about forced sterilization of Mexican and Mexican American women in Southern California and in LA. La Operación is a documentary about forced sterilization in Puerto Rico, which I'm going to start really preparing the script for my next video. I'm just debating whether or not and what order I'm going to do the next one in. So it's going to involve Puerto Rico. So like things like that, I'm like, it'd be dope to have somewhere to watch it and really talk and about it thoroughly without worrying about copyright shit. Where we at? Where we at? George, I think one of those BreadTube channels did a deep dive into the Turner Diaries. Um, I did watch I Love New York, but I was already kind of aging out of watching that stuff, but I knew about it for sure. Yeah, uh Sean Sean the Black? Is that the one? I'm thinking about another Sean. I don't hey bro, I don't know. If you cozy up to fucking white people like iDubbbz, then I don't trust your fucking analysis off the bat. We're confessing to watching trash TV over here. Hey, the biggest streamer got big by just fucking streaming TLC all day. So hey, there you go. Ooh, Camp of Saints. Great replacement theory. That's all you gotta say. Uh Gene Ruspel. Oh, okay. Interesting. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Coming through, coming through. All right. Let's get back on track, y'all. Appreciate it. I'm over here saying I want to be out of here by 2 and then getting hella distracted. So, in case y'all didn't hear, Hasan's good friend, Alex, I'm blinking out on his last name right now. My apologies. LOL overruled. I think they would just refer to him as Lolo. But his name is Alex. Is a fucking serial abuser, a sex pest, hella predatory behavior. I'm saying hella a lot today. What the fuck is going on with that? So yeah, and of course, initially the Hasan cult was trying to make excuses and try to diminish these accusations. Until Hasan, their fucking cult leader, came out and said, denounce Alex. Then they got in line, which again just highlights the disgusting parasocial relationship going on here. But when you stream for fucking 10 hours daily, what do you think is going to happen? When you're actively contributing to that parasocial relationship, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to see all your orbiters, your friends, as as an extension of you. And they have this weird, that's why they're a cult. The Hasan viewers are a cult. No different than the Destiny viewers. They're devoted to their fucking leader. I'm blocked by most of what are they, like Hasan Twitter or whatever, for simply calling out his normalization of liberal Zionism, from Ethan Klein to Sam Cedar to Bernie Sanders. This is a disgusting fucking Zionist normalizer. I don't care if you wear, Palestinian flag around your fucking body. You're an opportunist. So this fool Lolo overruled. Alex had already had me blocked because I called out his sexualization of Latinas. And then I had a bunch of stupid replies again prior to Hasan coming out and denouncing him. His original tweet was, if you are a teenage boy, listen to me closely. ICE agents are the reason you cannot get a girlfriend. And I quote tweeted saying, I hate white leftists. It's all a joke. And their desperate need to be as popular as right online media figures. They're chasing fame. And this was a reference to Alex Stein, who does a whole big booty Latinas bullshit to where like deport everybody but, Latinas that they sexualize. And I had got a lot of people initially being like, oh, you're reaching this and that. And I'm like, how? It's like, he never mentions Latinas. I'm like, who is ICE targeting at this moment? How would ICE be preventing teenage boys from having girlfriends if you're not referring to Latinas? It's disgusting. But I felt like I was reaching. I'm like, all right, maybe I am being too sensitive. Maybe because this affects my loved ones directly, I'm being too fucking emotional. But this is the type of response from his followers that he was getting. Mind you, this fucking original tweet got 104,000 likes fucking ridiculous. And one of the comments underneath, and there's a sentiment, this gross fucking sentiment. ICE agents are deporting all the big booty Latinas. I repeat, ICE agents are deporting all the big booty Latinas. I will not get a Latina baddie. Fucking, I can't read the rest of it. You must abolish ICE. Now you can say this is somebody trolling. This is somebody. It has 14K likes. Their handle is Rise of Fascism. So this is the type of energy that this fool Alex was feeding, and that I was like, nah, fuck that. But he blocked me for saying I hate white leftists because they joke about, you know, the oppression and the targeting of others. It's all a fucking joke to them. And what made it weird was, you know, other people coming out saying like, hey, yeah, this was like a weirdo sex pest. He was targeting sex workers because, you know, I'm sure I'll be called a swerve or whatever. You know, I think sex work should be decriminalized. But I also recognize that most of the people that are advocating for, you know, sex work and sex work positivity don't acknowledge how it predominantly targets women, you know, in the so-called like third world, black and brown women, that girls are targeted because of the sex industry. So for me, I'm like, yeah, we should not vilify, we should not criminalize sex workers, but we should be stomping out Johns left and right. So I'm sure I'll still be called a swerve because of that. A swerve is a sex worker exclusionary, like feminist or radical feminist, some shit like that. I think that's just straight up fucking liberal propaganda. You know, to think that like, hey, pornography and sexual exploitation of women is actually liberation. But if you want to make the argument that under like socialism or communism it'd be different, this and that, I'm open to hear that. Like I truly fucking am. Like I'm always hoping to learn about these things. But most of the people that I see making these arguments are white women from like the US. So for me, I'm like, okay, but can we have the conversation how this primarily hurts and damages poor black and brown women? Can we have that conversation honestly? I haven't had that conversation, to be honest. But I would want to have that before, you know, I get called a swerve or whatever. But again, I do believe, and I'm going to be unchanging on this, is you should stomp out Johns. Yeah. Whether we're talking about dudes picking up, you know, women on Fig, or we're talking about sex tourists like Hasan Piker, I do think Johns should get stomped the fuck out. And that's the issue, right? I hear you. Sweeter than anything. I don't think socialism will make it all better. Agreed. It's just like saying like socialism is gonna rid us of racism. It's not. But I don't think you can go after Johns without making the workers' conditions that safe. And that's what I'm saying. Those contradictions are, you know, are true, are there. But you know, for me, okay, and I'm gonna sound like a hater, and I'll take it. I'll take that on the chin. But I think Hasan is a perfect example of what I mean. We're talking about a white man who has always been wealthy, even before becoming a multimillionaire, was wealthy. His family was rich, attractive, tall, in shape, all these factors, right? That will allow him to have access to plenty of women will find him attractive, you know. And even if we're talking back before he really got super famous, even then, homie, you're just tall and you got a maid. If you're 6 feet, you know, yeah, still. But for all intents and purposes, he was attractive and wealthy. And he still felt inclined to go on a plane, go to Europe to be a sex tourist. And for me, I'm like how does your mind work? That it's not like you're fucking in a drought over here. You know, let's say even if you were, but whatever. Let's say It's not like you're in a drought or you don't have access to get consent or actual consent without the need of exchanging money, right? So what drives you? Like what is it, no, a passport bro is different, Yipper. A passport bro is somebody that uses their US citizenship, as a weapon to, to get a wife. To be like, well, you want a green card if you want to come to the United States, you got to put up with it. You got to essentially be my servant, my slave, my indentured servant. Let's go with that. But for all intents and purposes, a sex slave. That's a passport bro. A sex tourist for me is somebody that just goes, where sex work is laws are more loose, if not, regulated or legal in some form or another. That's a sex tourist. That's what Hasan Piker, is. So for me, I'm like, maybe it's just like if you're ugly, short, broke, and this and that, and you're a sex tourist, I'm like, I find you disgusting, morally, not physically, ethically. That you're trying to, you're going to another country to exploit women. But I get it. I'm like, you're fucking desperate. I get that. I'm like, that part, I'm like, all right, it's gross, but I get it. But for somebody to, again, be perceived as attractive, tall, wealthy, and all this stuff, and you still feel the need to go purchase, I'm like, for what end? Then it's not about sex, and it's about control. It's not about sex at that point. It's about control. It's not about you needing sexual intimacy. It's about you needing control. So again, if you want to call me a swerve, so be it. I don't think sex workers should be criminalized. I don't think sex workers should be stigmatized. However, I do think Johns are fucking predatory. I do think Johns are fucking creeps. And I do believe that they're trying to own women. But I'm open to being educated on the subject. I'm just saying it's a type of fucking creep. It's a type of fucking creep. But this is what Alex, LOL Overruled, Hasan's friend, had also tweeted though. Separate from the other ice joke that got all that attention and celebration, they had stated running on opening the border to let as many thick Latinas in as possible. Right. So, excuse me. Running on opening the borders to let in as many thick Latinas as possible. How is this any different from Alex Stein that talks about big booty Latinas? I don't know if y'all seen this, but I'm definitely not fucking searching up big booty Latinas on Twitter. Let's go, Alex Stein. I'm sorry that I'm putting y'all through this. Fuck.
Big booty Latinas can stay. Protect big booty Latinas.
Man, what's up with that? Don't come over here disrespecting our women.
Well, I'm trying to protect them. I don't want them to get deported.
Fucking racist asshole.
How is that racist? I want big booty Latinas protected. Dude, I'm on your side. Dude, what are you doing?
I'm scared, my boy.
I'm not scared at all. What's going on? Get up.
Fucking push me.
Hey, I'm not
Don't
touching you.
fucking
I'm trying to protect you. Yes, I am. You're a big booty Latina.
Hey, you say
I
that
wanna
one more
protect
time.
you.
If he says that one
What
more
I
time.
say, big booty
Say that
Latina.
one more time.
What are you
Say
gonna
that
do?
one more time,
Big
bitch.
booty
Say
Latina.
that one more time,
Big
bitch.
booty
Say
Latina.
that one more time,
Big booty
motherfucker.
Latina.
Fuck you.
What?
Fuck you.
All
Big
these
booty
fools
Latina.
with their face covered that haven't dropped this motherfucker already. You're fucking lames, bro. All these fools with their face covered. Hey, the shorter homie, brown berets, whatever my criticism, was the one stepping up, but his face was out there. And there's a camera out here, But all these fools with their face covered that didn't drop homeboy. Why the fuck are you covered up if you're not going to be about it? What the fuck are you doing? You're all fucking lames, bro. You just, what the fuck is the point then?
Hey, let's go to the back right now. I'll show you how much
Yeah.
of a coward I am.
Oh, I'm real scared.
Let's go.
I'm real
Let's go.
scared.
Let's go.
Protect her. I want to protect all big booty Latinas. If she's a 9, she's fine. Protect big booty Latinas!
He's calling me out, but he won't go to the back with me real quick.
I'm
What
not
the fuck are you talking
wrestle
about
a
going
two-
to the back with me, vato? The fuck are you talking about? Your face is covered. Fucking swing and dip. Swing and dip. I would never call for violence. I would never call for violence. I do not atone for violence. Jesus, bro. Again, though, I say no to violence. I'm just asking a simple question. What is the point of having your face covered? You know? I'm just asking questions here. Nah, but these fools are lames. You know, fucking. But the point is, Alex Stein and people, white or rad lips, like, oh, wait, are they both named Alex? Hey, they're both named Alex, huh? Like Lolo and it's just one. It's just is it Alex? Are they both named Alex? Yeah, that's fucking crazy, bro. Alex Clavering is his full name. He's a serial abuser who preyed on the women in his law school. Jesus, bro. And of course, the abolitionists for genocide of Palestinians over here, the vote blue no matter who, pretending that like they didn't know he was a creep. Hasan had no idea that he was a creep. Get the fuck out of here. This is a great point. LOL overruled. Name as Alex Clavering. Alex Clavering is a misogynist, sex pest, and a serial abuser. Alex must be held accountable and deplatformed. Crazy that they're both named Alex. You know, we don't call for violence anywhere. It's just kind of interesting how you're facing out there, but again, what is the purpose of wearing a mask? That's just a broad question. I'm just asking questions out here. What is the point of wearing a mask then? The motherfuckers want to look the part without playing the part. But yeah. So I just like to, like I said, like I like to be honest about like my positions, where I'm at, my willingness to learn and grow. But like I remember reading I've never read it on here, but it's is it a Marxist or communist or it's let's see, Marx against or combating, is it combating? Hell, I spelled that wrong. Like I've read parts of this. Prostitution, Ways of Fighting It by Alexandra Kolantaya. I don't brutalize that name. And there's some interesting like positions on here, but it's so outdated too. If I'm being honest, this is certain things get outdated, or maybe not. I don't know. So I would have to read. I would like if y'all have it, put in the chat, leave it in the comment. Resources, that I could read and really develop an understanding behind this. But the way I see it, yeah, Johns are looking to own women. But again, the contradiction is there. If I'm saying stomp out these foos, by stomp out, I mean invite them to dance and do a little, some dance some norteñas. It would make it more difficult on sex workers. That's just the truth. So I don't know how to square that circle, to be honest. Jeez, what time is it? We're like 2 hours in. 3. Can I do another one? Yeah, I could do an hour. I will do an hour more. Okay. I want to thank y'all for being here. I truly, truly appreciate it. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. If you're sick and tired of all these fucking rad lib white takes, if you're already subscribed, hit the like. Doesn't take much, but helps out the channel, helps out the stream, gets it to more people's eyes. Don't be selfish. You know, put them on, you know? So I appreciate it. Let's get to it. Before we start this fucking debate, I want you to understand who Pisco, who Econo Boy, again, I don't know how you have the US flag, the Texas flag, and call yourself a socialist, unless you're a national socialist. But hey, he's an ally of the queer community, so it's okay. We could rainbow wash all that shit. Well, pink wash it. It's fine. Before, I want you to know who. First of all, Destiny here. I'm gonna be honest. Before, I used to tell leftists, watch Destiny's streams. If you watch his streams, you'll understand the arguments that liberals are making. Yeah, he's gross, but we have to study our enemies and how they argue. However, once it came out that he was violating women's consent and sharing videos with sexual content on them, that's when I was like, you should not watch his stuff at all. Don't give him any clicks. Don't give him any views if you can avoid it. But this is on Pisco's channel. Pisco used to be one of Destiny's orbiters and distanced himself after the consent violations were made public. He knew prior to that. All his orbiters knew prior to it going public. These are people with very loose morals that will do a lot and ignore a lot for clout, for attention, for subscribers and views. I don't play like that. Like I said, I have a soft spot for Pisco because he's Peruvian. He's another brown man in the space. But some sketchy behavior nonetheless. One of those being very chummy with these white nationalists. Rob Noor, who believes in the Great Replacement theory, Pisco did not challenge him on that. And before we get to this debate, we had covered this prior, but we only covered a small portion of it. Here's where these conservatives, these centrists, these right-leaning liberals reveal themselves to be fascist.
Yeah, read the super chat. The last thing I'll say is, I think we actually disagree on who the enemy is. I think that is at the end of the day, like, there's a greater enemy here, and I think
who's your enemy?
Charlie Kirk and his ilk. MAGA is my enemy. That's my main enemy.
MAGA is my enemy.
But it's not your main enemy.
Is also. No, I probably hold. This is probably the sincere difference between us. My enemy is also the far left and half of progressivism. Simultaneously, I have two enemies.
Are they equal? Who's your greater enemy? Well, I think you already said it. Your greater enemy are those lefties.
But by the way, progressivism was a greater cultural enemy over the past decade. MAGA is clearly the bigger, the bigger political threat right now.
Read your super chat.
But just because, like Henry Kissinger, he says, like, it's a shame that both can't lose. I'm fighting for a center-left, center-right coalition because I want MAGA to lose and I want the far left to lose.
Gun to head, you'll pick the fascists over the commie.
Yep.
Jeez.
Yep. I unironically, like in Chile, I will unironically pick Bukele and what's the other guy? Chile. He's the dictator. He's the guy who threw people out of airplanes. What was his name?
You're talking about Pinochet.
Pinochet. I would pick Pinochet and Bukele over Maduro.
And Allende.
Probably. All right. Anyways, let me read you some super chats.
Yeah, read them.
No pushback from Pisco. No pushback at all. You're talking to a fucking fascist. You're talking to a fucking, fuck the fucking scratching and the bleeding. You're talking to a fucking fascist. You're cool with the fascist. You're down to fucking chum it up and not push back with the fascist. When somebody tells you, oh, no, I would have supported Pinochet over Allende, who Allende wasn't even a fucking communist, wasn't a socialist. Allende was, at best, a fucking a sock them. Compa, when you're one of the few brown faces in the spaces and you can understand and you know about the atrocities that Pinochet and just and you just just rolls off your back. Just rolls off your back. All right, yeah. Read me your chats. When you have this, and mind you, this fool Connor was in the military and was a cop. And he's over here telling you, yeah, I wish side with fucking Pinochet. With Bukele. A fascist. And you're just down to kick it with this fool? You're just down to have a good fucking conversation with him? Oh, we just have political disagreements. Nah, homie, you're talking to a fascist. You don't think he's a fucking white supremacist? You don't think he's a white nationalist? Oh, he's just a fascist. You know those things. He wants a multi-ethnic fascist state. Get the fuck out of here. So, hey, I mean, I've said this privately, but I want to say it more vocally. A lot of brown people fucked up by leaving the space a little empty. Because there's a lot of fucking brown faces with conservative views, a lot of brown pygmies. There's a lot of brown fucking faces with Eurocentric minds out here. I'm not one of them. So Pisco over here, like, aligning with, cozying up with, being cool with, unwilling to combat a shit of fascists like this. Because it's stupid to start making a huge distinction between somebody like Hitler and Pinochet. Because the real difference is their access to power, right? But if Pinochet had Germany behind him, it would have been gas chambers instead of fucking dropping people out of helicopters. He just didn't have the resources. He didn't have the power. He didn't have the ability. But he definitely had the fucking will. He definitely had the fucking fascist ideology. He would have if he could. And he did a whole lot. So it should be no different. Guess what? Because what? Because the people he was massacring were brown because they were indigenous? So yeah, that part is fucking disgusting. That's why, like, I'm like, a part of me doesn't want to cover these people. But it's like, bro, like, they're arguing whether or not they should include people that are voting and normalizing genocide when the Democratic Party do that shit, whether or not they should be aligned with them. You're both atrocious fucking people. You both normalize genocide as long as the D is doing it. As long as blue is doing it. As long as the Democratic Party is committing genocide, you guys are okay with it. So I just wanted to highlight that. Pisco, Peruvian brown man, just cool with being friends with this white dude who admits that he would have supported Pinochet. Fucking A. Mind you, this is who they're arguing over, by the way. This is who they're arguing over.
I said, I think. Making it seem as though I didn't even fucking vote or I urge people not to vote. There's never been a moment where I said do not vote. Who did you vote for? I voted for Kamala Harris. You got a problem?
No, I got no problem, but I think there's people in your audience that would.
You don't have a problem.
Why didn't you endorse her?
Though I didn't even fucking vote or I urge people not to vote. There's never been a moment where I said do not vote.
Who did you vote for?
I voted for Kamala Harris. You got a problem? Kamala Harris. You got a problem? I voted for Kamala Harris. You got a problem? I voted for Kamala Harris. You got a problem?
With a Palestinian scarf around his neck. That's what it looks like. It looks like a scarf. Fucking A. Shamelessly. I voted for Kamala Harris. You got a problem. And yeah, this account here Yeet, yeah, for sure, like pro Ethan, pro H3H3. Why is it that no other fucking leftist channel highlighted the fact that Hasan Piker, the biggest leftist streamer, supposedly pro-Palestinian, voted for Kamala Harris in fucking California, where she was gonna win regardless, and your vote couldn't help a party that doesn't normalize genocide. In fucking California, you are so devoted to a Democratic Party and their genocide of Palestinians that you still voted for Holocaust Harris. And we know for a fact that you would have voted for Genocide Joe. Get the fuck out of here. This is who they're debating about whether or not should be part of their coalition. Like the word opportunist, the word grifter gets thrown around a lot. Bro, at the end of the day, he's a fucking poser. He's wearing the band shirt without listening to the band. And they perceive it to just be that to be on the left is just like having a favorite band. It's ridiculous. This is no different than who was that fucking who was the Speaker of the House that would work out to Rage Against the Machine? He was a Republican. Damn, it's been a minute. I can see his face, but I don't remember his name. He was a young guy too, Speaker of the House, Republican, and he said that when he would work out, he would listen to Rage Against the Machine. It's all aesthetics. No layers with these fucking people. But this is who they're debating. This is who they spent 3 fucking hours. 3 fucking hours debating whether or not he should be part of their coalition. These dogs like Hasan Piker, like Sam Cedar, these dogs like Cal Kalinske, like the Vanguard, these fucking dogs will bark all day and all fucking night, but they have no bite. They have no fucking bite because they're thin-skinned and they have nothing in the game. They're worried about them and themselves. They only oppose Donald Trump because it's negatively going to affect their lives somewhat. It's all performative.
One and all to yet another episode of WIC TV. It's a cross-ideological space where we come together to talk about issues both political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. And today we are going to be talking about what I consider a very important issue. Should we be courting the far left? What or who do we consider the far left? Which is more of a threat to America in general? The question was asked, who would you vote for, Hasan or Trump? And I think it's an interesting thought experiment to go through. There was some disagreements, so I thought I'd gather people together to hash those out and have a discussion on it. Just a note before we begin, I know there's some tensions are high in different communities and things like that, so I might be a little more heavy-handed on moderation than I normally would be, because I do want the topic itself to be discussed at least a little. But other than that, I'm just going to give the mic to you guys and let you guys go at it. We're going to hand the mic first to Econoboy, give his thoughts, and then we'll just kind of go around. Econoboy, start us off.
Yeah. So, for those listening,
can y'all hear me? So this is Wick over here with the American flag behind him. This guy was a paid political operative who wasn't honest about that for this organization that was there to promote. I think it was called Progressive Victory, who was out here to promote for the Democratic Party. They had a couple of liberal streamers on their payroll. So yeah, another one of these like weirdos you can't really trust. You can't trust liberals to begin with, but definitely not ones getting paid by essentially the Democratic Party or some Democratic fucking party funder.
The topic is courting the far left. I take that to be essentially a political and strategic discussion about whether or not and how exactly we should or should not court the far left. And the way that I think of the far left, there's a lot of polls on this. Based on all the research that I was able to do, about 10% of people that vote for Democrats call themselves socialist, and about another 10% call themselves extremely liberal. So if we were to think Kamala got about 49% of the vote, that's to say that something like 10% of those people are either extremely liberal or socialist by their self-identification. And so I think that what that means to me is that we should take what those people say, those actually existing far-left voters, seriously. That to the extent that they have demands, they should have a seat at the table. We should try to come up with some sort of coalition and platform that can balance the needs and desires of the far left and the very, very centrist in the party, recognizing that we're in a big tent. And then when it comes to anti-electoral leftists and anti-democratic leftists, which I'm sure we'll talk about on the show, I think that to the extent that those people have big platforms, Democrats should engage with those platforms. So if Pete Buttigieg wants to like go on Hasan's stream and espouse the greatness of his campaign or the Democratic Party or something, I don't really have a big problem with that. But I don't think that people like that should be part of like the inner party or should be invited to the DNC. Somebody like Mamdani, if he becomes the mayor of New York, probably should get a speaking spot at the DNC, but probably not people like Hasan, because it's not clear to me that Hasan is like, quote unquote, an ally of the Democratic Party. And what I'll say is one last thing. I'll say that, you know, I think Destiny had said at some point, he had clarified that essentially people who use the label of socialist should be treated like Nazis. I take that to mean that they should be like very harshly socially excluded from the broader movement of the Democratic Party or like the broader left. But I think that would be extremely counterproductive because, again, these are just a big chunk of the people of the Democratic Party. I think I get accused of wanting to shrink the tent because I want to primary pro-filibuster senators, right? on ideological grounds. But I think to say that we should shun basically everyone that calls themselves a socialist in the Democratic Party, that's to say that we should shun essentially 10% of the base, which is, I don't know, I just think that's much more counterproductive than just trying to build a coalition with them.
Okay, thank you, and we will get into it as we go. I'm going to hand the mic next to Pisco. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it obviously depends on what you mean by court and what you mean by the far left. So obviously, like, you know, I would be in support.
It's hilarious. I don't know why when they say like courts, like I can imagine them underneath Hasan's balcony, like yearning for his vote. Bro, he already voted for Harris. What more do you fuckers want? I mean, in reality, what they want is for Hasan to be honest that he's a fucking rat lip. Like, they want him to be nicer to the Democratic Party. But it's like he's already, all that matters is whether or not he's going to vote for your party. Hasan already smeared the Green Party with the old Democratic Party line of like, they only appear once every 4 years. Whatever your criticism of the Green Party, they don't only appear every 4 years. They have to run a candidate for presidency in order to maintain access to the presidents to run for president. Or else they're going to lose that shit. Why? Because when they run in local elections, it's the Democratic Party, it's the Democratic Party, it's the Democratic Party that tries to use, legal fucking warfare to get them off the ballot. So saying that they only appear every once 4 years, like Sam Cedars done, like Emma Viglis done, like the Vanguard has done, like how Hasan Piker has done, is spreading Democratic propaganda, lies about the Green Party. Whatever your opinion of the Green Party is, that's just objectively a lie that they only appear every 4 years. That they only try to win the presidency. It's bullshit. But it's a Democratic talking point. And the worst part for the Vanguard is one of them, the one that said that there were some good Zionists, Gavin, used to vote for the Green Party. And suddenly he starts rubbing shoulders with Marianne Williamson, with the Sam Cedars, with the Kyle Kalinskis and the Crystal Balls, and then he's lying about the Green Party. The other fact is Hasan Piker did not platform Claudia de la Cruz or anyone from the PSL, but he's willing to show up to their marches and give a half-ass speech. That's just like a quarter-ass speech. So again, he wants the aesthetics to be associated with an, pro-Palestinian, anti-genocidal movement, but he's still willing to normalize and vote for Holocaust Harris in California, y'all. Like, just understand that aspect of it. It's so fucking ridiculous to say that you're pro-Palestine and anti-genocide and still vote for Kamala Harris in California. Jeez.
Nah, I got no problem.
I voted for Kamala Harris. You got problem?
Nah, I got no problem, but
I voted for Kamala Harris. You got problem?
And still wants to act like a tough guy over it.
if by far left you mean people like Mamdani, people like AOC, these kinds of people who identify, Bernie Sanders as a socialist, I think that there are absolutely things that we can agree on with socialists, and we're a big tent enough coalition if what you mean by far left includes those people. But ultimately, this is a conversation I think about semantics. What is the far left? Who are the group of people who are like anti-liberal or anti-constitutional that you want to exclude? And to what extent do you want to exclude them? Does exclude mean invite them, don't invite them to create a party platform? Does exclude mean not interact with them in any respect, even as Econoboy mentioned, to like use their platform either for a debate or to like promote the candidacy or to try to convince people? I don't know if I'll go that far. I certainly wouldn't want to incorporate any Marxist-Leninist ideas into the Democratic platform if that's what's being meant by courting the voters or courting the far left. So ultimately, it's a semantic argument, but we're not here for that. We're here because, in my opinion, there's been a bad faith campaign to basically smear me and Econoboy and Josiah as having moved to the far left, as having put space in our coalition to really allow for anti-democratic, anti-constitutional ideas and to not push back on them. And I think what you'll find that there are tensions right now, I think, in the different coalitions, the different viewer bases, but they don't have to do with a big substantive disagreement. I encourage everyone who's watching, actually look during the course of this conversation, how much disagreement substantively is there going to be? If we're talking about like this semantic game about what a socialist is a socialist a Nazi? Stephen is going to just fucking get crushed on that argument by Econobo in terms of what a normal person means by the term socialist and how those terms are used. If he can produce any evidence whatsoever that me, Econoboy, or anyone on Live and Learn did something wrong in like bringing on the vanguard, notice if he can bring up anything that shows that we are taking a kind of illiberal approach or trying to do some kind of bad faith, like a courting of the tanky vote. If he can point to any specifics, or really just going to have more fucking nitpicking on the sides while he encourages and frankly, I think smears us as tankies, anti-liberal, and anti-constitutional. So I'm here definitely to get clarity on terms and to notice actually what is the room of substantive disagreement here, or is all of this a fugazi to cover up spite and personal conflict between him and other streamers? And is there really evidence that we're moving to the tanky left or the illiberal left?
Okay, well, thank you for being here, and I'm sure we'll get into all of that. Let's give it first to counterpoints. Go ahead.
Yeah, so my issue with this whole thing is that there are socialists, which I define, I think, in a good faith way for the decommodification of basic human need and workers owning the means of production. There are also communists who believe that the end result of our material analysis should be a moneyless, stateless, classless society. I think these people exist. I think they have clout. I think they have influence. And I would use specific examples in our sphere of influence, like Erin or Straighterade, who says that she's a communist. I would use the examples like Hasan Piker, who I just watched earlier today, is effectively holding hands with Marxist-Leninists and saying that he is a Marxist-Leninist. He's just, playing softy with the Social Democrats and the Democratic Socialists. That way he can get clout and influence and then radicalize them down a funnel. So for me, what I'm trying to point out is that if you pretend that this person is normal and nice and fine and a part of the coalition, then you're going to lose the moderates, you're going to lose the center right, and for every leftist you gain, you probably lose 2 or 3 moderates. So, the vanguard, I have no idea what their politics are. I would frankly love to speak to them specifically about their politics. But if MLs are a part of the coalition, you're losing people. You're being politically ineffective. That's my argument.
Okay, thank you for being here. And last,
yes, thank you for the fascists being here, the Pinochet supporter. I will say this though. If you're a fascist and you're really like about fascism, you actually like if you meet legit fucking fascists or you interact with legit fascists, the smart ones actually will like know some good like have some grasp and understanding of communism. So when he talks about, oh yeah, you're a socialist and you're advocating for the abolition of private property and for workers to own the means of production. And then he makes the distinctions that communism is, a stateless, moneyless, classless society. So he makes that distinction. So throughout this stream or throughout this debate, which I guess we're gonna break up into 2 parts. Let me know if you disagree, but this shit's fucking hilarious. Am I right? Like part of this was infuriating, but also fucking funny that I'm like, you guys are calling people that voted for Holocaust Harris tankies. You are calling people that voted for Holocaust Harris and would have voted for Genocide Joe fucking tankies. I don't know what this fascist here is referring to when he says that Hasan admitted to being a communist, a Marxist-Leninist, because Hasan actually denied. Let me see if I can find this. Being a communist not too long ago. Let me see. I talk a lot of shit, and so it's gonna be a little hard to find this, but he claims like, no, I'm not a communist when asked to defend a communist position here. Let me see if I could. He was talking to that Democratic Party operative, one of the white boys that were like supposed to be like combating Joe Rogan. Oh, here we go.
On socialist debate you, but like even if we hit full automation, like
let me set this up first. Watch.
Podcast, we had an interview. Okay, please understand something. This is from many years ago. Okay, this is me. This is I guess a piece from his. I guess it's a piece from his video. Okay, am I hiding being a communist? Okay, I had a show.
Me hiding being a communist was the accusation. So that Ethan Klein laid against Hasan Piker, and so this is how he combats that accusation that Hasan Piker was hiding being a communist.
On the Young Turks called agitative propaganda. Even in these clips, there is a USSR Ushanka behind my head. Okay.
Was I being manipulated this whole time?
There is a bust. There is a what is it called, a Matryoshka doll of Vladimir Ilyich Lenin. That's Che Guevara. That is another USSR Ushanka behind my head. Okay. What the are you saying? What the absolute are you saying? Either you are being disingenuous and acting like there was something sinister afoot. Okay, and that there is something that is sinister about being a socialist anyway, which is a ridiculous position, by the way. I think like there's nothing sinister about being socialist. All right.
And so the reason why like I'm taking my time to say we need to watch this is because the same reason I called in to call out Sam Cedar for his liberal Zionist propaganda. And he started crying that he's like, oh, if you're that far left that you're supporting and promoting decolonization of Palestine, then why are you watching my show? And it's like, wait, isn't your whole show about combating the other right media figures like Ben Shapiro, like Steven Crowder, like Joe Rogan, like Jordan Peterson, right? Like so it's okay for you to call out the right and their propaganda, but you don't want people to your left calling out your centrist, liberal, complicit propaganda with the right. How fucking convenient. So yeah, we started off the stream talking about Christian Smalls, about the starvation of Palestinians, about how Zionism is a white supremacist ideology, right? So we're not just here fucking with the drama and the slop and all this shit like that. It has been a while since we read, I'm not gonna lie about that, like actual text, and we'll get back to it. Don't get me wrong. But I just want to take a moment to highlight that. Like, don't let them pretend that we're just bullshitting here. Yeah, we're having fun, we're laughing, we're enjoying this fucking circus. A debate between center-right liberals and whether or not they should accept radlibs who bark like if they're sock damn socialist, communist, Marxist, Leninist, but then go vote and sheepdog for the Democratic Party. Right. What a wide divide you have.
Ironically enough, the other person whose doll is behind my head, who has this artistic work behind me depicting him as a punk rock guy, also calls himself a socialist. Just, the person that I interviewed a couple weeks ago before I left for Japan. The question is,
imagine bragging about interviewing lifelong Zionist genocide denier Bernie Sanders and claiming that he's a socialist when Bernie has said, no, he's not a socialist, he's a democratic socialist. When in reality, he's a national socialist. It's fucking wild.
The question that is on everyone's minds is like, there's two things here. There's two outcomes of this. Either you are the dumbest person on the planet and just like, whenever I described my political worldview, it just like went in from one ear and out the other. No bus stop in there. Okay. No pit stops in there whatsoever. It was just like information coming in and out. Okay. Nothing in there. Just.
Yeah. Amira. No, sorry. Excuse me. What is it? What is it? New Mexi Ben? New Mexi Ben? Quote, but look at my merch. Yeah, exactly. It's all aesthetics. It's all consumerism for these motherfuckers.
An empty hallway, all right? You just did not retain anything that I told you. And you're like, I thought you were like a, you know, kind of progressive, vote blue no matter who type Democrat. What is going on? And if that's the case, then you have no business doing political commentary, okay? Because what are you saying? Like, what do you mean? Then you're just like ill-equipped to have this conversation. You've openly demonstrated that.
I consider myself a liberal, but in the American political lexicon, I guess like I'm super liberal. That's what they, that's what Americans think liberalism is. Like the more left you are, the more liberal you are. Even though there is a genuine distinction between the leftist and the liberal, but yeah, I'm progressive. I guess that's the catch-all term.
I like progressive. Yeah.
Oh, I like progressives, bro. This is what infuriates me when people are like, Hasan didn't know that Ethan Klein was a Zionist. Hasan didn't know. How could he have known? Do you hear the fucking monster next to him speaking? I like progressives. With that fucking colonizer sound screeching out of her fucking mouth. What do you mean? Hasan knew that she was an IOF veteran. Hasan knew that Ethan Klein lived in the Zionist entity. It was known. It had been known for years. And he still chose to go into business with them and not bring up Zionism until October 7th forced the issue. But here he is. This is how I know that his audience is a cult. And this is why I'm trying to always avoid sharing too much, because I don't want to have that type of like audience. Like, I want y'all to call me out. How fucking honest was I about, hey, some people might consider me a swerve. Here are my opinions on this, and I encourage y'all to educate me and correct me and provide resources for me to learn about this. Because I don't think sex workers should be villainized. I don't. However, I recognize that this, sex trafficking in the sex work industry doesn't predominantly target and harm the white women that I consistently hear advocating for sex work. It harms and targets Black, brown, indigenous women and girls. So help me understand how we combat this contradiction. How do we not vilify sex workers while vilifying Johns? How do we make it safer for sex workers while at the same time, or limit the dangers that they face, while at the same time, I do think Johns are creeps that should be alienated. I'm being honest about my position. If you were to ever ask me, how do I politically identify? I'm not going to say, well, in America, in America, people think that, oh no, excuse me. Well, in America, well, it depends. So how did he change his mic at that point? I miss, when did he start changing his mic settings to sound like more of a man? Right? To sound like he woke up every stream he just woke up. People will claim that his voice sounded extra deep in this one because he was in Japan and jet lag. Get the fuck out of here. You're trying to appear more masculine. You're insecure about your masculinity. Get the fuck over it. Fucking hipsters. Can't stand them. They pretend not to try hard when they're trying their hardest. So, if you ask any fucking leftist, where do they stand? They're not going to say, yeah, I guess I'm a progressive. Yeah, most Americans would consider me a liberal. No, they're going to be like, oh yeah, I'm a fucking anarchist. Oh, I'm a communist. I'm actually a MLM, a fucking Marxist-Leninist Maoist. Because Maoists will always tell you that they're Maoists. We're honest about that. For shorthand, I'm like, yeah, I'm a Marxist-Leninist, sure. If we're going to have a long conversation, look, I prioritize decolonization and anti-imperialism. That's my main priority. I didn't start off being on the left reading Marx. I started off becoming left reading Fanon. That's where I'm at. That's where my interest is at. If you want to call that a weakness, it's a weakness, but I also never had the issue of being a fucking class reductionist. But his audience is so fucking brainwashed that they hear him say and accept the term progressive and label himself progressive in the video while he claims that he was always a communist and then conflates communism with socialism in the same breath. The thought leader of the left, y'all.
Yeah. Who wouldn't want to be progressive? It's in the name. We're progressing.
Yeah. Well, that's why like early stage classical liberals who like wanted to
It's fucking ridiculous. And in this very stream, because he deleted a lot of his VODs, in that very stream, he admits that he knew that Ethan Klein was a Zionist.
Podcast.
Because he refers to, just real quick, he refers to this tweet in that stream, in the Japan stream. He refers to this tweet defending what he thought that Ethan was, liberal, somebody that was willing to criticize and combat Zionism, was this tweet. Now the highlighted parts are mine, but this was back in 2021. And he states, my thoughts on Palestinian-Israeli conflict. Already calling it a conflict, you know that this is a Zionist. The Israeli government is making me sick. Even if Hamas is operating out of civilian building, it doesn't justify the total destruction of that building. It's inhumane. Netanyahu is a piece of shit warmonger and needs to go. Again, much like Bernie, putting the blame on Benjamin Netanyahu when it is a Zionist settler colonial project itself, regardless of who the prime minister is or who the fucking head of state is, will act accordingly to suppress native resistance. As a dual citizen, meaning he's still an Israeli, I love Israel and the Israeli people. They deserve a government. They deserve a government, meaning they deserve the right to colonize Palestine that actually believes in peace and not force and violence. You cannot have a settler colonial project without force and violence, meaning you can never have a settler colonial project that pushes peace. Until, of course, the indigenous population is eradicated. The ultra-right Jewish settlers, when somebody makes a distinction of the ultra-right Jewish settlers as if it wasn't the liberal Zionists that established the Zionist project, as if it wasn't the liberal Zionists, the so-called left Zionists, that legitimize the settler colonial project, if you don't make that distinction, if you don't highlight who enabled the ultra-right settlers, then you're just being complicit. Are among the greatest provocateurs in the world. They are shameless and hateful and fueled by religious zeal and enable the Israeli government. They have no shame in how they carry out their colonization. We liberal Zionists do. I wish the settling and repossession of Palestinian land would stop. But much like Gabor Mate, Aaron Mate's father, Aaron Mate from Gray Zone, and Daniel Mate from Bad Hasbro, co-host of Bad Hasbro, much like them, they're not talking about 1948. They're talking about 67, meaning, oh, we get to keep what we took during the Nakba. We're going to reward colonization of the Nakba. We're going to normalize the colonization of the land stolen during the Nakba. But then afterwards, we should stop. We should stop stealing land after the Nakba, after 67, after we've established our settler colonial project. Aren't they so nice? Aren't they so great allies? And he continues to say, I wish the bombing in Gaza would stop. Gazans. Does he say? Okay, he says, okay, at least. Deserve to live a life free of fear. For all the crimes Hamas has committed, we must always remember that they are not Palestine. Again, trying to separate, somehow Hamas aren't Palestinians. Somehow Palestinians don't want to return to their land. Somehow Palestinians don't want to remove the Zionist colonizers from their land. Fucking ridiculous. The Israeli government holds all the power, accurate, and it is on them to stop the violence and show a true willingness of peace. But it can't do that. A settler colonial project cannot ever fucking functionally do this. It can only have peace after they exterminate, eradicate, completely displace the indigenous population. But this was a tweet that Hasan admitted that he saw prior, and made him think that Ethan was somehow, willing to be willing to oppose Zionism. Get the fuck out.
On socialist debate you, but like even if we hit full.
So back on topic. My apologies. Hasan said, "Oh, I was a communist. Oh, I'm a socialist," while covering a video where he says, "Yeah, you could call me a progressive." This is what he said when he was talking to a bunch of liberals.
On socialist debate you, but like even if we hit full automation, like would it even be desirable for us to get rid of that? Like, because we still want a state to like limit people from committing crimes, right?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I'm not a communist, so I think that like I can't even imagine what that would look like in general. But the way I explain it is like I'm not opposed to it. You know, I wouldn't say I'm a communist, but I wouldn't say that I'm opposed to a stateless, moneyless society, a borderless society.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Would you be against like the enforcement of certain types of laws?
I'm opposed to a, but the way I explain it is like I'm not opposed to it. You know, I wouldn't say I'm a communist, but, you know, I wouldn't say I'm a communist. I'm a communist. I'm a communist. Not opposed to it. You know, I wouldn't say I'm a communist.
So he says, I wouldn't say I'm a communist.
This podcast, we had an interview.
You hear?
Okay, please understand something.
What does he say?
This is from many years ago. Okay, this is me. This is I guess a piece from his. I guess this is a piece from his video. Okay, am I hiding being a communist? Okay, I had a show on the Young Turks called Agitative Propaganda. Even in these clips, there is a USSR Ushanka behind my head. Okay,
Was I being?
You see why I hate this motherfucker? Don't come at me with, oh, well, it depends on the audience that he's trying to reach, this and that. You're a liar. You're inconsistent. You manipulate the truth for your own benefit. If you are a communist, if you're a Marxist-Leninist, if you're an anarchist, whatever it is, you should be proudly stating that so that people know your political position. If you're trying to push people to the left, why wouldn't you represent your true ideological position in order to get them to be on your side? Instead, you're relabeling yourself depending on the platform or depending on what's convenient to you, and you make everything meaningless and you misguide people. That's the most important part here. He has no sense of responsibility of his platform, right? Because everything's been handed to him. He hasn't worked for shit in his life. Everything's been handed to him. He's nepotism fucking incarnated, right? Reincarnated there, or incarnate, right? Yeah, there we go. So he's a straight up fucking liar. But did you see the stuff? Did you see the stuff behind him? The shit that he bought at the fucking the communist gift shop?
Last but certainly not least, Destiny. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think that when I was making the rounds debating Nazis,
Destiny bad. In all seriousness, Destiny should be on a sex offender registry. Oh shit, I'm on Twitch right now, and I don't think I could stream any platform, any banned streamers. So Twitch, I know there's only like 2 people. Peace out. Ending the live stream on Twitch now. Awesome. Damn, good thing I remember that before he spoke. He was on camera, but he wasn't he wasn't yeah, dope, I'm not live there. Just carry on.
2016 to 2018, one of the most common things that I heard from kind of like the centrists that basically gave more credence to all of the far right ideas was point to where I support this. Show me where I said that I'm racist. Show me where I said that I hate Jewish people, or I'm anti-Semitic, or I'm, trying to be a white supremacist. And there was always this like annoying fight that I would have to do where in order to start debating the Nazis, I'd have to chew through all of these epic centrists first who would say, well, I'm just a classical liberal. I'm Sargon of Akkad. I'm not actually a white supremacist. I just happen to give cover for all of these people. I don't think Econoboy or Pisco or Josiah or any of these other people, I don't think they're becoming tankies or anything like that. I just think there's a very annoying cover that's given to a lot of these people where there's like, we can 100% discern and decipher every single intention that Donald Trump has. We have no problem calling him a fascist outright. But then when you have people that hate the Democrats, that shit on our candidates, that attack everybody on our side constantly, we're like, well, I don't know what they really think or how they really feel. Or when it comes to people like Hasan, like even earlier today in my subreddit, Econoboy, when asked about supporting Hasan, will say things like, well, I don't think I necessarily agree with him on everything. He says, I had a I don't have a generally positive view of Hasan, and I think I would flatly agree with many of the criticisms levied at Hasan. That's just in my mind, even though it seems like there's some kind of separation there. That's just a wild statement to make from somebody who openly supports terrorist groups that kill civilians, or openly supports enemies of the United States, or openly supports the subversive propagandizing of our entire political party to hijack the entire movement to destroy if not the Democratic Party, maybe even all of the entire United States of America. So I'm sure we'll get into it. I don't think it behooves us to just say all of this is a semantic disagreement. I think it's actually really important to define what a leftist is, because I think that it's important for the people to know where everybody stands, and it's important to get rid of people that are intentionally trying to obscure their beliefs and come in under the guise of being a leftist without actually stating, what their position is, and then having this this dual role that they get to play, where they can propagandize people and radicalize them without actually ever stating what it is they're trying to do. Are you for the complete and total abolition of our democracy, or are you just somebody who wants the government to do more stuff?
And just to get clarity, so we know what we're talking about.
Fucking yapping, bro. Yapping. Give me one sec. I gotta move this shit around. I got my shit all tangled up. Hold on. I hope y'all didn't hear that. I tried muting it, but that sounded fucking nasty. I hate any screeching or scratching noise. But yeah. Well, what did I miss? What did Ed Walker say? You need to talk about Destiny's family. His mother was on his stream once. His family owned Cuban plantation that were seized after the revolution. Yeah, that was mentioned, but also, and this is gonna sound like an excuse, and it isn't. His mother has Alzheimer's or something. So I'm not trying to be a jerk, or I guess not a jerk. While I do believe that they probably had money, I don't know how accurately his mother is literally physically capable of remembering things, how accurately she is. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if they did. I just don't know. I can't take her at her word, because she's not mentally capable of recollection like that. Even in that conversation, she couldn't remember a lot. So I was kind of I'm sure they owned some land. Without a doubt, they were, she was white. It's just not something that I really focus on, because I don't. It's kind of to what extent, what again, I'm a hater. I'm a fucking hater, but I like having the facts to hate on. I think and the fact that Hasan ruined the fucking term gusano. This is a fucking white man. Stop. This is when we say gusano, we're talking about Cuban fucking sellouts. Nobody's thinking about fucking Stephen Banal the third, or whatever the fuck. And fuck Norm Finkelstein too.
Destiny, are you saying that Econoboy and Pisco are running cover for those leftists that you think are infecting the Democratic Party, or however you want to put it, right?
Yes, but I don't think it's like they're secretly tanky, and so they want to provide cover for their tanky friends. I think it's more just like this. There's something that happens in the Democrat brain, and I've been guilty of it too, where you're so obsessively trying to seem even-handed that you get rooted out in this world where you're I'm trying to be fair, and I don't want to have Hasan derangement syndrome, so I'm just going to say they're not that bad. And I don't know that much about any of this. I'm not sure, whatever. But what it causes is this reality where, the conversation for this podcast, what was talked about earlier, was should we appeal to leftists when it comes to gaining political power? When do leftists talk about appealing to liberals to try to gain political power? Or when do leftists say, hey, maybe we should chill on shitting on the party, forever and ever when it comes to getting political power? Why is the conversation only ever on the Democratic side of things? That's just very wild to me.
Okay. The floor is open.
Should some socialists?
I was going to say they do. They say they're going to co-opt the movement.
I have a question. Yeah. So this is both to Connor and to Stephen. Should some socialists, at least some, be catered to, be appealed to, and be part of the coalition?
No.
So you would agree, therefore, that Bernie Sanders, AOC, and Mamdani should not be catered to and part of the coalition, correct?
Depends on what you mean when you say catered to.
Should they, for example, support the head of the ticket being a socialist like AOC, Mamdani? If they are the nominees, should we support them?
Yes, but that doesn't mean you're catering to socialism.
Okay, but you understand. So
wait, hold on, wait. You
You
recognize that supporting somebody at the top of a ticket. Well, if you want to play the yes or no question, I can play the same game. You understand that supporting somebody being at the top of the ticket doesn't mean that you are centrally supporting their ideology. For instance, it's possible to cater to, in a roundabout way, people that are further to the left of you without catering to far leftist beliefs.
Correct,
right?
but you would agree, like, if a socialist is at the top of the ticket, socialists like Bernie Sanders, the Democratic Party should support the socialists at the top of
Y'all heard that? Socialists like Bernie Sanders. Pisco, your tío is not a fucking socialist. I'm sorry. He literally says he's a fucking I'm a democratic socialist. Bernie is more of a fucking populist than he is a socialist. I mean, but in reality, you know, if you want to call him a socialist, he's a national socialist. He's a national socialist. He's over here talking about open borders being a Soros conspiracy theory, or the Koch brothers. Yeah. For fucking cheap labor instead of being a fucking internationalist.
ticket, correct?
It depends what you mean by support, but generally, yeah, I think you should support who's.
So you're okay with socialists being part of the coalition, correct?
I don't really know if I consider Bernie Sanders or AOC to be like socialists.
And why is that exactly?
Because I don't think that they like fit under conventional definitions of socialism.
Do they want the decommodification of basic human needs and workers owning the means of production?
Yeah, so that's your definition. That's your proprietary definition of socialism. But you
that's
agree.
Most socialist definition.
So, for example,
Econoboy, do you disagree with my definition?
Yeah. Okay. So just to hop in here. So
guy with the Texas and the U.S. flag behind you. Please explain to me what socialism is. Do you agree or not? Bro. And this guy, Econoboy, very intelligent, very fucking intelligent, especially when it comes to the secret arts of economics. But he just recently came out as a socialist. It's like, bro, like, so now he is the arbiter of what a socialist is. And like I said earlier, the reason why I said before I play this is I demonstrated that this guy here is a fascist, Connor. Counterpoints, Connor, is to highlight, I'm like, you know, some of these fascists, especially those with military background, who are pigs, who like history, will learn a little bit about what communism is because they despise it so much. They want to combat it, and they don't want to be, you know, they don't want to see their government fall to communism. I think we can all agree that that's a fairly broad but reasonable definition of a socialist. But if radlibs who want to feel like they're socialists have to muddy the waters. And we're going to see throughout the debate is Econoboy here solely prioritize his focus, his new identity as a socialist on like the Nordic countries, whose socialism only works by exploiting, you know, the countries that they colonized.
So, yeah, I disagree that is. Okay, do you want me to answer the question, Connor?
Give Econoboy space to answer. Go ahead, Econoboy.
So, I want you to do a line of Adderall.
Let Econoboy answer. Go ahead.
I probably should have done an edible instead of Adderall before entering this debate. But to answer your question, similar to capitalism, socialism is a diverse universe of people. There's a lot of people who call themselves socialists. Some of them are Marxist-Leninists. Some of them are like what you might call like moderate, like right-wing socialists, I guess, like me, who say that we should just collectivize the ownership of production. People have different ways of defining these things. For instance, capitalism includes people all the way from Fabian Liberty to people like Destiny, who basically endorses the Nordic model, right? And they're both capitalists, right? And so I think that of the 10% of people who call themselves socialists and are part of the Democratic Party base, obviously that's a very diverse group of people, ranging from the exact, essentially, people that I just mentioned as well. And I think that's a very sensible way to look at who calls themselves socialist and why. To
Then
Destiny's
saying
point of,
Mamdani's not a socialist or
one-
that Bernie's not a socialist, that's crazy.
Just one more sentence. To Destiny's point about when do like the left wingers.
So it's so ridiculous to be like, well, a lot of people call themselves socialists. It can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. And this is why, like, it took me a while to be like, you know, Bernie did more harm then good. Because a lot of people are like, Bernie woke up a lot of people to the left. No, Bernie just, repopularized, the cool fucking uh like the concessions that FDR gave to the working class to save capitalism, and that were slowly, eroding and being taken away from the working class once again. Bernie was basically advocating for those things to return. I mean, who was it? Was it Nixon? Was it Nixon that wanted universal health care? But was it the Dixiecrats that opposed it because they didn't want black people to have health care? So it's like, does that make Nixon a fucking socialist? Like shit like that is so ridiculous and so fucking lazy and disingenuous. But that's what fucking rad libs do. And that's what all these like Bernie bros are experts at. Everything everything is socialist. Everything is socialist. It's a dumbass fucking thing. Joe Rogan used to say like, well, technically the fire department, that's socialism. Or the meme of Richard Wolff that socialism is when government does more things. So again, this fool's a fucking fascist. He knows what he's opposing, to a limited extent. And I think that that's a fairly middle of the road definition of what a socialist is. So to hear somebody that just proclaimed his socialism contest it in order to muddy the waters even more is really obnoxious. Because if you were to use that very broad and I think generally accepted definition of what a socialist is, it's very obvious that Bernie is not a socialist. And that's why Bernie was calling himself so what was it? A sock them. Excuse me. Man. It's so exhausting. It makes it feel like bro, like I'm telling you, this Connor dude's a fascist. I started off this video by showing you him admitting that he would side with fascists. Man.
Ever catered to the moderates. Well, I mean, I seem to remember people like Bernie Sanders and AOC taking very collaborative positions with people like Biden when he was in office. And I seem to recall like Mamdani, he took a very collaborative position with people like Brad Lander. And Mamdani's campaign, to the extent that it appealed to people broader than just the left wing, he made that conscious decision to do that. He didn't run on a campaign of seizing the means of production. He ran on a campaign of like freezing the rent and providing childcare to people, right? I mean, I take that to be in some sense a means to cater to a broader base of people than just left wingers, essentially.
So I think that if we want to talk about catering to socialists, I think that the issue that we have is there exists a world where you only have, or you have a bunch of like Bernie Sanders, AOC, maybe Mamdani types of people that are part of your movement and part of your coalition. And I think that if we lived in a world where there was a rich media environment with a lot of people who were socialists, who, some supported the liberals, some kind of didn't, and some were like really against it, then we could have that conversation. But right now, it seems basically ubiquitous across the entirety of the left-wing media landscape to aggressively and violently shit on and attack Democratic candidates as harshly as possible. I just saw, and I'm sure you guys saw, that Vanguard tweet saying that Pete Buttigieg looked like and smelled like a rat. Pete is one of the most like popular Democratic figures making the rounds on shows. I just watched Crystal Ball fucking roast the fuck out of a senator from Michigan because she wouldn't give like the singular one answer on the Gazan issue. If this is the world we're going to live in, where you want to say, oh, well, socialism encompasses a broad range of people, but when I look to the media environment, almost every single person that would even flirt with the label socialist relentlessly shits on the Democratic Party. I don't know if I can really say, yeah, sure, we should also appeal to these people. It's just not the right media environment.
There's a definitional issue here, which is you're saying that Bernie Sanders and Zoran Mamdani are not socialists. Explain that.
That's not really responsive to anything I just said.
Bro. Pisco, and you have to understand, because Pisco was forget Orbiter. Pisco was like constructing arguments for Destiny. He was a minion, not just an orbiter, but a minion. Because an orbiter is somebody that has their own platform, and Pisco didn't really launch his own platform until recently. So prior to that, he was like a little henchman for Destiny. So they have this whole like falling out, and they have personal beef. But to continue to how is Bernie Sanders a socialist? How is Alejandro Ocasio-Cortez a socialist? How is Zorhan a a communist, a socialist? Like how? In what sense? What is it that? When have they called for the fucking end of capitalism? It's so frustrating because I'm like, how are these fucking, because these are all liberals, but how are the more reactionary factions of liberals accurately describing that Bernie, that Alejandra Ocasio-Cortez, that Zorhan aren't fucking the socialists that Fox News wants you to believe that they are? How is it possible? How is it so ridiculous? Yeah, the Soulless King Pete just threw trans people under the bus, always. And that's another aspect of that, right? Where it's like, okay, hey, marginalized group, we're going to give you a little bit more power, a little bit more visibility. Pete being gay. Just make sure that you pull up the ladder behind you. Just make sure you pull up the ladder behind you, and now we could use you to target the marginalized within your group, trans people. It's cool because a gay man's doing it. Jeez.
No, because you were not responsive to the issue at
Can I
hand,
explain it?
which has to do with the definition. Yeah. So the question is, if you're defining socialism to only include the people that Steven doesn't like, then maybe there's not actually a disagreement here in terms of who should be leading the party or something. But
so I wasn't defining socialism with people I don't like. I was defining socialism. So we can talk about definition of socialism. What I'm looking at right now is the socialist media environment. My earlier argument was that I don't know if I would even consider Bernie Sanders and AOC to be hardcore socialists. If I wanted to supply that argument,
socialist at
if
all.
I supply, sure, socialist at all. Well, right now,
not hardcore. Well, you're not hardcore. No, you're not hardcore unless you live hardcore. Unless you live hardcore. And the legend of the rent was way hardcore. I couldn't help myself, bro.
who are the socialists all shitting on almost more than anybody else? AOC and Bernie Sanders. So
whether they're
it
shitting
seems
on
like
them or not,
media
Steven,
environment.
whether they're shitting them or not isn't the question. That's a separate question. Are they shitting or not shitting? The question is, should socialists be part of the coalition? You just said that Bernie isn't a socialist. He identifies as such. AOC's not a socialist.
So
she identifies as such.
question-
Mamdani isn't a socialist. She identifies as such. What's your evidence they're not?
At best, what is it? The DSA, like Democratic Socialists of America. Democratic Socialists of America. And yes, AOC's in this weird limbo where the national doesn't endorse her anymore, but the local does. It's whatever. But Bernie has repeatedly distanced himself from just being called a socialist.
Not socialists.
So identifying as a political thing doesn't make you that political thing. That's a tautology and that would be nonsense, number one. And number two, the question wasn't should they be part of the coalition. The question is should we appeal to them? Those are two fundamentally completely different questions.
Destiny, to be clear though, you're narrowing your position. It was just last night when you said explicitly anyone that uses the socialist label should be treated like a Nazi.
Correct
right?
quote.
Now, if
In the media environment is what we're talking about now. I'm commenting on your show.
Then Destiny. Okay, well that's what you said last night. If you're clarifying just people within the media environment, then I'm just saying that that's a useful narrowing of the discussion then, because
you can call it a narrowing if you want, but anybody that's watched I don't shit on AOC, I don't shit on Bernie Sanders even, and I've been supportive of them.
I think useful is one way to put about it. I think useful is one way to put it. I think weaselly is another way to put it, and I think it is weaselly. I think you're backing off of the strong position. The strong position is socialists shouldn't be a part of socialists shouldn't be a part of our fucking coalition. And now when you're getting pushed, I guess now it's the media environment. Yeah, but you took a strong position.
I didn't say socialists shouldn't be part of the coalition. I said we shouldn't be trying to actively appeal to socialists. Do you understand that those are two separate things?
They're different statements. They're correct. They're different statements. But you said
no. They mean fundamentally two completely different
statements
things,
that mean different things. They're two different statements that mean two different things. But your position, is it your position, therefore, that the Democrats should, as part of their coalition in terms of who to vote for, what kind of policy support, to humor people like Mamdani, humor people like AOC, and humor people like Bernie Sanders? And if that's the truth, then I think that it's almost.
I don't know what that statement means. Should they humor them? What does that mean? Put them on the ballot? Well, I don't know what that question means.
Should they have a seat at the table? Whatever you take the seat at the table.
What is a seat at the table? If they go to the Outback Steakhouse or Applebee's?
So for example, you're the one who says that we need to excise these people from the party. I actually don't know what you mean by that. So whatever your vision of having a seat at the table, not being excised is, whatever you're using when you say these people need to be gone, under that definition, do you think? Okay,
sure. Let's let Destiny. Those are good questions, Pisco, and I'd like to know the answers too, right? What do you mean, Destiny, when you say we need to excise these people? How do you see that?
My fixation,
which is so stupid. You want to excise the people that are still going to vote for the Democratic Party. That, despite all their criticism, violent criticism apparently over here, are still gonna like sheepdog their fucking viewers to voting for the Democratic Party. Make that shit make sense. And this is from 2025. Let me see if I can airdrop this real quick to myself. Yes, perfect. Watch this. No, we're not signing up to that. Watch. I hate fucking. I don't use Facebook at all. So every time I play, it's gonna.
They don't find a national message that's recently suggested that if Democrats don't change, if they don't find a national message that speaks to the majority of this country, people will start running as independents.
Yes.
Why do you think young people get excited about folks like you or AOC or New York City mayor hopeful Zorhan Mamdani, who are self-described democratic socialists? Why is socialism cool again, Bernie?
Self-described democratic socialist. But they're doing the same thing that Hasan's doing with conflating communism with socialism and conflating socialism with democratic socialist. They want to act like if they're not watering down the conversation in order to make themselves out to be something that they're not. All for internet points, for aesthetic points. Then it pauses again.
People are looking at this country today, and they're seeing incredible greed. And they're seeing that in the richest country in the history of the world, so few have so much, and so many have so little. There is, Stephen, I get around the country. I was just, I go on and on. I was just did a virtual program, Zoom, with some workers in nursing homes. They're working 80 hours a week, taking care of their patients. You got people working crazy hours for horrible. I was a kid that is possible. In fact, many of the young people have a lower standard of living than their parents. With all of this technology, ordinary Americans than we are. And what the Democrats are lacking now is a vision for the future. And that gets back to a corrupt campaign finance system, the unwillingness to take on the greed of big money interest. And that is, I think, what young people perceive.
Spouting the same bullshit nonstop, but when he had the opportunity to win the presidency to win the primary from Joe Biden, what'd he do? Oh, my good friend Joe. Yeah. Fucking spineless coward. Yeah, Ronaldo, the whole I don't know why Pisco chose this approach. Jordan Peterson like asking, what do you mean by the? What does the word THE mean? Those three letters, what do they represent? What do you mean when you use a specific word that already has definition? Exactly.
Is almost universally on the media environment when I'm having these conversations. I think when I was watching you guys talk, it was also generally on although sometimes you guys would try to go back to AOC, but politicians operate kind of in a different world than the media environment operates in. Most of my criticism on the media environment that all calls themselves leftists or socialists seem to relentlessly shit on Democrats. And I just think it's a really unhealthy and bad world, again, where you see a Michigan senator wants to dip her toes into the podcasting world. And one of the jokes I made about Kamala is one of the reasons why she probably didn't do any shows is because she would get fucked by the right, the centrist, and the left, and she goes on a leftist show and she gets fucking shit on because they only want to talk about fucking Palestine. This is a senator from a blue state, from Michigan. Jesus, that's insane to me. And it would be nice if we actually had a strong center-left position and a strong center-left media apparatus, and not just a bunch of leftists who fucking hate the party and want to shit on us all day.
Do you understand?
I mean, Harris was just an atrocious fucking public speaker, though. That's the problem. She's a horrible fucking interview. She was supposed to be scheduled to do an interview with that dude with curly hair that does a Subway hot takes or whatever, and she just kept fucking it up, and they never aired it. That's how bad she was.
Understand our position to be that we disagree with your assessment that leftists constantly shit on the Democrats. Do you think that we disagree on that?
I'm not sure all
Yes,
the
sir.
time.
So
I
you're
can't
not
tell.
sure. So we're here to discuss something where you're not sure if we agree with you on the position that the lefties constantly shit on Democrats in ways we don't like. We agree that lefties constantly shit on Democrats in ways that we don't like. We agree with Hutch, for example, when they constantly shit on people like Biden in certain ways, even though I shit on Biden in some respects. We agreed on the AOC tweets that they shouldn't have shit on her that way. And so there's no...
Yeah, you shouldn't have shit on AOC when she was trying to rationalize and lie to people why it's okay to the Zionist entity in defensive weapons while they commit a genocide. Yeah, God forbid Palestinian resistance are able to hurt the fucking Zionist entity while they commit genocide. I don't know if y'all saw this too. Let's see. This has recently happened. It was out like at a rally or something. Was it Sea Squirrel? That's weird. Let's see, AOC maybe. Oh, here we go. Yeah.
You know, this institution's not moving with the majority of their constituency. And it's shameful because if they poll their constituents, if you ask them, do they want another dime? They want us to continue to support the war crimes being committed in Gaza? They would tell you hell no. Because they've seen the images we all have seen of babies being starved to bone. Every day that our government continues to withhold funding from UNRWA, they are actively participating in these crimes against humanity. Every day that our government continues to again fund this genocide, they're enabling more death and destruction. We must continue to push for a complete arms embargo of all weapons to the Israeli government. 7 out of 10 Democrats support an arms embargo. So again, no matter what weapons I don't care if it's offensive or defensive, whatever you call it, let's stop enabling, again, the genocide. The excuses I've heard will never justify these war crimes. It's past time that my colleagues stop making excuses and listen to the majority of Americans. Whatever you call it, offensive or defensive, I don't care if it's offensive or defensive. I don't care if it's offensive or defensive, whatever you call it. Let's stop enabling, again, the genocide.
So there you have it, Rashida Tlaib. I wish she would have called out AOC by name, but it's politics, whatever. Acknowledging that she's enabling genocide. But we've known this as the Democratic National Convention, that she lied about the Biden-Harris regime working tirelessly for a ceasefire. But we've seen radlibs that pretend to be pro-Palestine be critical of that moment and then interview her a couple weeks later and not bring it up. That was on the Majority Report. So Hasan Piker interviews both lifelong Zionist Bernie Sanders, who's a genocide denier, and Alejandra Ocasio-Cortez, and showers him with gifts. Ironically, with AOC, a pro-Palestinian pamphlet, when she lied and is a genocide enabler. This was when, this was right after the DNC as well, during their stop the fucking, what was that? The rally? Stop the oligarchy tour. Fucking rolls right off the tongue, bro. Oh, every other comic book writer is a piece of shit, man. We're being honest.
No disagreement there. So that obviously isn't what we're here to discuss on a point where you're unsure that we disagree on.
I wasn't saying that we had I was asserting strongly that we massively disagreed there. So, okay, what was
I got something I massively disagree with. So, I think that every single leftist that I've talked to online, anybody who has any kind of political knowledge whatsoever, defines socialists as decommodification of basic human needs and workers owning the means of production, and they use that definition repeatedly. I think that my frustration is that there are a bunch of quote unquote social democrats who talk about universal health care, or they talk about, making rent cheaper or some shit like that, which are social democratic Scandinavian policies. And I think they're using the term socialism backdoor in order to rehabilitate the image of this. And not just that, Hasan Piker and plenty of far lefties, plenty of MLs, probably the Vanguard as well, they're ecstatic that this is happening. They're ecstatic that Mamdani has social democrat policies. They're ecstatic that AOC have social democrat policies. They're ecstatic that Bernie Sanders have social democrat policies because it rehabilitates the word in my mind. That shift of the Overton window to the fucking far left is an insidious plot by plots to manipulate the Democratic Party further left, and it's going to ruin electoralism.
So we're going to get some actual clarity here.
This guy, I mean, that's what I'm saying, that he admitted to being a fascist, that he would side and aid with fascists, that he would, promote throwing people off of helicopters like Pinochet did. But because he's a fascist, they're paranoid. It's McCarthyism. They're paranoid about communism. And they're like, in their mind, instead of seeing Bernie, AOC in the political sphere or in the media, Hasan, the Vanguard, as opportunists, using the aesthetics, using the language of the left, while still their actions being aligned with the Democratic Party, like the rat lips that they are. Instead of seeing them as opportunists, he's like, no, they're actually masterminding the rise of of the American Soviet Union. It's like, bro, what the fuck are you talking about? No, these are opportunists. These are opportunists. These aren't fucking masterminds playing 4D chess. Alejandra Ocasio-Cortez said if she would have been given the oversight committee seat, if I'm not mistaken, it was the oversight committee seat, that she would no longer be willing to, or that she would sacrifice supporting any challenger to an incumbent. AKA, nobody's going to come up the way that I came up, not with my endorsement. And not having the endorsement of AOC, the most popular politician in the Democratic Party, for liberals, you're losing so much. That can be a game changer. I mean, it was for Bernie, right? When she came out to endorse him after his was a stroke or some shit like that. Like, she's very popular. She has power, and she was willing to reject using that power to help people to follow the same political strategy that got her to where she was for a committee seat. Meaning, she was willing to completely align with the establishment. Yeah, no, I'm trying to wrap up, but I at least wanted to get a good 15 minutes on this before saving it for tomorrow, because we lingered quite a bit on the Jon Stewart thing. Yeah, it's 4 hours. It's fucking crazy. I might rewatch it, and then on Friday's stream, we'll just do the highlights. Y'all gonna make me rewatch another 3 hours though. I was stuck in traffic when watching the first half of this though. So it wasn't too unbearable. I couldn't escape it.
So to be clear, Stephen, you don't disagree that people like Mamdani, AOC, and Bernie, they're fine to be in the party, and we're fine to appeal to the kind of issues that they care about in their positions, correct? You don't have a problem with that?
But what I would say, hold on, real quick.
I'm asking Stephen a question. I'm going to get to you and see if you disagree with Stephen.
Shit! Second, I want to say something before.
He's so fucking loud. I have to lower him for y'all, for me every time. 9999.
You and Destiny talk for the next 40 fucking minutes. What I would say is that if the socialists are proposing social democrat policy, but then they get what they want, and then they try to yank the political window further left, that is something 100% that I oppose. Destiny, you and Pisco, go ahead and fight for the next 10 minutes.
I just want to ask, and I'll ask, I'm going to go to you, Connor.
It's hilarious because Connor literally is playing second fiddle here. And even Wick, the host here, this fucking somebody that you could purchase, somebody whose opinion you could purchase, admits that they had asked somebody before Connor, but they refused to be on the panel. I'm assuming because unlike Pisco and Econo Boy, they don't want to normalize Destiny again. What was it that I was looking at? Fucking blanked out. Oh yeah. This whole let's just go to bar. Or was it? Remember we read that article recently about Alejandro Ocasio-Cortez? Let's see if I can find it. To dispute this fascist talking point about some secret fucking oh, here it is. Oh, that's funny. Here it is. The AOC has a secret agenda to push the party to the left. Or was this quotes? No. Here we go. It's a self-evidently ridiculous warmongering, ultimately genocidal position disguised as progressive humanitarianism. It's all the ugliest things about Western liberals. People who say you should criticize AOC because they are, people who say you should not criticize AOC, nope, fucked it up. People who say you should criticize AOC less because there are way worse members of Congress act like she's just passively sitting there being a mediocre lawmaker. She's not. She's actively anchoring the leftmost edge of the Overton window of US politics to militarism, capitalism, colonialism, and genocide. She's actively stopping American politics from moving any further left than the nightmare we see before us. Leftists shouldn't hate AOC less than the politicians to her right. They should hate her much more. It isn't Mike Johnson's responsibility to move the US government to the left, and it's not Nancy Pelosi's job. It's hers. That's what she was elected to do. That's what she framed the goals of her entire political career as being. And she's taking her stand firmly, bracing against any leftward movement from the America's genocidal, warmongering, unjust, exploitative, tyrannical status quo. And that's what she's actually put there to do. Her real job is to say, thus far and no further, to the leftmost end of the political spectrum, the world's most powerful and destructive government. That's the Democratic Party's job in general, and it's a job of the media-savvy, progressive Democrats in particular. They are there to provide as little resistance as possible when the U.S. politics are shoved towards more genocidal, militaristic, oligarchic, and capitalist imperialist abuses, and provide as much inertia as possible to any movement in the opposite direction. That's why people who seek leftward movement in the US political machine see AOC as one of their main enemies. It's for the exact same reason you'd see someone actively blocking the fire exit as your enemy when trying to escape a burning building. We just went over that. But this fascist is so fucking delusional that he believes it's the opposite.
See if you agree with Destiny, because I think we might all have a more disagreement with you, Connor, than we have within each other in terms of the substantive opinion. So I'm going to ask Steven, do you have a problem with these people, the people identified, Mamdani, Sanders, AOC, being part of the Democratic coalition, and however you define Democratic coalition, and having their positions catered to, or people having their positions in general as part of the Democratic coalition? Do you have a problem with that?
Which is ridiculous because Bernie has been the best recruiter for the Democratic Party probably since Obama. Probably to Obama. Nobody has brought more voters to the Democratic Party than Bernie since Obama, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, so there's two separate questions. So one, like generally, I'm probably almost always going to support a blue candidate over a red candidate in this current media environment, or in this current political environment, number one. But number two, when you say, do you have a problem appealing to them? I mean, that means different things. If you say, like, would I have a problem if we were to appeal to Bernie Sanders coming out and saying, I want to socialize all of the means of productions in the United States, I would have a problem with that. But if you're saying, do you have a problem appealing to Bernie and AOC and Mamdani saying, we need to find ways to make, rent cheaper in cities, and that might mean a policy like rent control that I personally don't like, but if they want to try it, I mean, I wouldn't be like fundamentally opposed to having that as part of my party's platform. Then no, I mean, like it would depend on what things we're talking about appealing to.
Like, agreed. You're okay with the socialists being at the top of the Democratic ticket in the sense of socialists in the Bernie Sanders sense.
But this is part of the issue. You call it
Is that right or no? Am I wrong?
You can't. This is not like a simple thing. You're like doing like the what is a woman at me? What is a socialist?
No, I'm asking you. Do you have a problem with Bernie Sanders being at the top of the ticket?
You gotta let
That's the
Destiny
specific
answer your
question.
Top of the
Go
take,
ahead.
no, like if him being
Okay.
a senator from Vermont, no. If he was president, probably not.
Yeah. So
But when you say a socialist, if you're talking about somebody who wants to abolish by law all of private enterprise and maybe even attack the democratic underpinnings of our political parties, right, and have a single party rule, I would be opposed to that.
But that doesn't describe Bernie. It doesn't describe Mamdani. It doesn't
No shit, because they're not socialists.
describe AOC. Correct?
No, but Mamdani, Bernie, and AOC are on the outer perimeter of what is considered socialist, and they're attacked by the center part of what is socialist.
So
That's my issue.
you're okay
you could probably find an outer perimeter fascist that I might be okay with. If he's some fascist who's like,
right there.
yeah, I think we should protect America as an ethno-state, and I'm defining ethno-state as like the current ethnic composition of America, and I think that we should have like stronger rules on immigration. I was like, yeah, I'd probably
but
fucking
the problem
support
is,
this
the
dude or
problem is
whatever.
that, like, and you understand, and Econoboy would lay this out, that Bernie, AOC, these types, they come from a long tradition of democratic socialists from like UK, Australia. He brought up Clement Attlee, and this is not some fringe movement. These are democratic socialists that exist in countries all over the world. So we're not talking about this idiosyncratic belief of socialism. It's a version of socialism that exists, and you're okay with it being part of the party. So the question isn't one of categorical. You're okay with some socialists. You would vote for some socialists. I'll ask Connor the same question. Connor, are you okay?
It's so fucking disgusting when like the way they conflate all these things. They have different names for a fucking reason. Like if you conflate a Marxist-Leninist with a Marxist-Leninist Maoist, you'd be fucking wrong. And there's reasons why there are those distinctions. I'm not a Maoist. I'm not a Marxist-Leninist Maoist. I haven't read enough, to proactively combat Maoism or whatever, or to hate on MLMs. But from what I've read so far, I have no reason to label myself a Maoist. I really don't. Can that change in the future? Maybe. But currently, no. If you were to call me a socialist, I would correct you. If you were to call me a damn sock, a sock dem, what have you, I'm like, fuck no, bro. They're fucking rat lips. Every so often, and I've said this before, every so often, the PR changes. Oh, we're no longer liberals, now we're progressive. Oh, we're no longer progressive, now we're democratic socialists. Like, it changes, it alters, all to their benefit. All to their benefit. All to whatever appeals to the voter or the new voter base. That's it. But yet their objective stays the same: to protect capital, to protect the capitalist class. That remains the same. To maintain you going in and out of the voting booth every 4 years and feel like you're making a difference. That, at the end of the day, has been their objective, no matter what they label or relabel themselves as. I don't know why Pisco, being so intelligent, felt the need to muddy the waters, to lie, to essentially, I think it's lying. To say, oh, Bernie, Alejandro Ocasio-Cortez, Zorhan, they're socialists, and then eventually be like, oh, a long history of democratic socialists. And it's like, all right, bro, well, in that case, just call them Marxists. Oh, well, they're Marxists. Well, why not? If you're making that conflation, just call them Marxists then. Because most socialists that I know do not like democratic socialists. Because they recognize them that they're just fucking rat libs. They're just spicy liberals. That's it. So I don't get this. I don't understand why he chose this approach. I really don't. Yeah, Taylor. Yeah, I've always laughed at that acronym. Democracy means a lot of parties. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're trying to outlib each other. That's literally all this is. That's why it's fucking hilarious. But the people that they're like arguing about are Harris voters. That's what I don't understand. The people you're arguing about still voted for Harris. The people you're arguing about will normalize genocide as long as it's a Democratic Party doing it. That's what you're arguing about. That's how you devote fucking 3 more hours. 3 hours to, because they don't stop until yeah, like 3 something. 3:10. It's fucking wild. I think we're already like 28 minutes in. But yeah, no, thank y'all for sticking around. I appreciate it. Let me know in the comments if if we should do like a part 2 on Friday of this stream. I don't think there's gonna be a stream on Thursday. I'm trying to get some things done early in the morning just to avoid traffic. Hopefully, but you know, traffic out here sucks one way or another. If you're new here, if you're sick and tired of the same old bland white rat lib opinions and analysis, subscribe, help the channel grow. If you can do me the favor, hit the like. That apparently helps the algorithm. But yeah, this is ridiculous. This is funny if they weren't so pathetic, but it's both. But for now, ya estuvo.